I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
Hello and welcome to Business Morning Live right here on BusinessDay Television. My name is Elizabeth Musa and happy new month of August. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's see what we have on the headlines this morning. CBN cuts government financing as total assets rise above 138 trillion naira. OPEC Plus agrees in principle to modest oil output quota increase. And ahead of the 2027 elections, opposition questions INEC over statistically implausible voter data. And Trump calls off planned Iran attack, says allies have reached outline of peace deal. Now let's begin the news as the Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced its financing of the federal government even as its total assets climbed above 138 trillion naira, reflecting a shift towards tighter monetary discipline and improved fiscal coordination. The development comes as the Apex Bank continues efforts to curb inflation, stabilize the foreign exchange market, and limit direct financing of government spending. Analysts say the reduction in government financing is in line with ongoing reforms aimed at strengthening monetary policy, credibility, and reducing inflationary pressures. Economists note that while the growth in the CBN's balance sheet underscores the scale of its operations, lower reliance on central bank financing could improve fiscal discipline, boost investor confidence, and support long-term macroeconomic stability. However, they stress that sustained reforms and prudent fiscal management will be critical to maintaining the gains. Now moving on, OPEC Plus has agreed in principle to a small increase in oil production quotas, according to delegates, signaling the group's cautious approach to balancing global oil supply with uncertain demand conditions. The proposed quota adjustment is expected to gradually increase crude oil output while allowing the alliance to closely monitor market conditions, including global economic growth, geopolitical development, and energy demand. The decision comes as oil producers seek to maintain market stability among ongoing volatility in crude prices. Analysts say the modest increase is unlikely to significantly weigh on oil prices in the near term, but could help ease supply concerns if demand strengthens. They add that future production decisions will depend on global economic conditions, inventory levels, and geopolitical risks, particularly in key oil-producing regions. And in other news, opposition parties have criticized the Independent National Electoral Commission over what they describe as statistically implausible figures in the country's voter register, raising fresh concerns ahead of the 2027 general elections. The parties allege that discrepancies in the voter data require urgent clarification and called on the Electoral Commission to provide greater transparency on the compilation and verification of the register. They argue that public confidence in the electoral process depends on the credibility and accuracy of the voter database. INEC is expected to respond to the concerns as preparations for the 2027 elections gather pace. Political analysts say the controversy underscores the importance of maintaining an accurate voter register, strengthening transparency, and ensuring stakeholder confidence in the integrity of Nigeria's electoral process. Now, to end the news, United States President Donald Trump has called off a planned large-scale military strike on Iran, saying allied nations have reached the outline of an agreement that could bring an end to the escalating conflict. According to Trump, diplomatic efforts have made significant progress, reducing the immediate need for military action and raising hopes of a negotiated resolution. The announcement comes after weeks of heightened tensions that had fueled concerns over regional security and the potential disruption of global energy supplies. Analysts say the development has eased fears of a broader Middle East conflict, with financial markets closely watching for further details of the proposed agreement. While the move has been welcomed as a step toward de-escalation, experts caution that lasting peace will depend on all parties honoring any final agreement and avoiding actions that could reignite hostilities. Well, that does it this morning on Business Morning Live News. Up next is the newspaper review. Do stay with us.
For 25 years, BusinessDay has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, BusinessDay now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new BusinessDay website today and experience the future of news.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doreen is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Day. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure of welcome.
Right, this is still the Business Day CEO Forum here at Eco Hotel and Suite. I'm still speaking to our CEOs, business leaders, and key stakeholders across the business landscape. And I'm here with the MD and the CEO of Energia, Mr. Oladimeji Basharon. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr.
Thank you also
Basharon.
for having me here.
Talk to me about your key takeaway. You just finished a panel right now. Talk to me about some of the proceedings from that panel.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I really want to say thank you to Business Day, 14 years of doing this, of actually having us to dialogue, bringing both the private, the government, and everybody in to have a conversation. My first takeaway is that we all have a responsibility as Nigerians, whether as CEO or even as a citizen, to make sure that we invest and we are part of this country. That's the first one. The second thing is also, it's not just government alone. I see it on a company that our annual revenue is in billions of naira. So I need to ensure that at not just delivering profit to the shareholders, that I also deliver value to Nigerians. We provide energy, and so we will comply and ensure that energy is provided. So I picked that up. The third one is also that we have an infrastructure deficit, and it will take all of us to invest into that. So it is going back now to look at our strategy and say, where do we fit into this stream as part of my takeaway from this forum.
Fantastic. And when we talk about where we fit into this stream, let's talk about the theme for today's event, which is from stability to shared prosperity. Now, what will shared prosperity look like for you from the lens of an energy lens? What would that look like?
Yeah, thank you. Very excellent question. So what does it mean for me? It means that we run a company that is first able to provide energy to drive growth for this nation. That we ensure that our energy is affordable, is available, and is accessible. That's the first thing, to make sure that we help businesses, the SMEs, the 90%, to be able to scale up, and they'll need energy. So that's the first one, so that they are also part of the shared prosperity. The second one is that individual Nigerians will provide employment, but not just employment, we provide intellectual capacity and growth for them, so that they also prosper intellectually, so it becomes shared. It's not just the company. We invest in development of people. So we move away from just having a typical engineer, but we provide a resource to the nation that somebody would be able to benefit. The third one is also to provide governance prosperity, that we have a group of leaders that can run the business even beyond us, and that's what we're investing into, to make sure that it's shared prosperity.
Nice. If you're to look right now from between now 2027 and then 10 years to 10 years from now, what's a signal or trend or shift in your sector today that you would say that every business leader should be paying attention to, and why?
Yeah, the first one is technology. The AI is taking over the world. We cannot pretend that we are not going to be impacted. So we need to start investing in the technology. We need to also follow the trend in terms of the governance of AI, the technology that is. The second thing also now is that Nigerians are being entrusted with running the company. 60% of the oil and gas sector, the production of today, is provided by Nigerian oil companies. So we need to keep the trend up. When the majors, when the international oil companies leave, Nigerians should be able to take it over and run it successfully. So that's the second trend. We need to keep up the trend. The third one also is that we are competing with the fintechs for resources. So we need to be attractive for people to come in. We need to go to the universities, ensure that we have enough, invest in development at the university level, partner with universities for researches, because we are competing with fintech for resources. They are very lucrative, and so that's a trend that we see that we must do something about, so that we are not out of business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oladimeji Basharin, for stopping by at our booth today, and also just the insightful conversation, brief and very, very impactful. Thank you very much.
And thank you also for having me. I really enjoyed the section today. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. You're still watching Business Morning Live right here on Business Day Television. Still Elizabeth Musa, and this is where we look at what we have on the front page of the papers across the national dailies. Of course, I'm not doing it alone. I'm doing this alongside Mr. Joshua Bassi, our editorial director here at Business Day Television. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Bassi.
Thank you.
And let me also say happy new month. So, Mr. Bassi, what are you most excited for the new month?
For life. I'm excited about the fact that I'm alive. I'm excited about the fact that business is.
Thank you. I'm excited to see you too. Right, let's see what we have on the front page of the papers this morning. Of course, we always like to start from home, starting off with the Business Day newspaper. I think something around capitalization that takes the center spread this morning. I see that we have 8 banks still awaiting, but other banks have been cleared with the recapitalization exercise, which finalized, which reached the deadline on the 31st of July. So we're seeing that 43 insurers kill the industry recapitalization, and we're seeing that 8 of them await their fate. And that's what we have on the front page of the Business Day newspaper this morning. And on the right hand side, we see a story. It says, grooming Africa's next set of unicorns, Tinubu's big agenda for health tech. And when I'm speaking with experts, I hear a lot that some of the the feedback I get from them is that health tech looks like the new frontier for tech. Some years back it was fintech, when we saw the likes of OPay, MoneyPoint, and all of them, and PalmPay springing up. But I'm seeing that the next phase, or the next frontier for the next set of unicorns, especially even when we see the venture capitalists, they want to, when you're in the venture capital space, you're seeing that the companies they want to invest in right now, when you feel their pulse, is health tech. So this looks like a time. Why is it understandable though?
Health is wealth. If you don't take care of yourself, no matter what you make, no matter how much you have accumulated in life, because you should. So it's not just about yourself this time around. So you have to take care of yourself. In order to start life, to continue to make money, right? And then you also know that the money that is being made is also to cater for humanity, right? So the humanity that you also made the money to be able to take care of, also need to start right. So it's interesting. I'm not surprised that the focus, like you said, that the next frontier is health. Investing in the health tech, right? Because it's important that, like I said, health is wealth. Without health, I mean, no matter what it is that we are doing, because it is human being that we are doing it for. No matter what it is that we do for yourself, you are doing it because you are alive. So I'm not surprised that that is the area that people are focusing on now. Because truly, health is wealth. That would be my take. I mean, as far as that is concerned. But let's look at the story on the recapitalization.
Right.
Insurance. It's insurance.
Awaiting their fate.
Awaiting their fate. I don't know what their fate will be. We discussed this story the other as well. It might be that they will lose their operating licenses, meaning that they will go out of business. And so we might have only the ones that have been able to meet the recapitalization threshold, in business operating in Nigeria. So that means that we might have a reduction in the number of insurance companies that are operating in the country. So it's but the other option, I mean, this is still talking about awaiting their fate. The fate might also be that I think that there's an option for, if you can't meet up with the threshold, probably like you said the other time, maybe just do a little bit of something around a region. If you don't have the capital that is required to take on big business and write a big risk, of course you may just be restricted to something around maybe a state, I don't know, something around a region, and so you will not be able to operate nationally because you don't have the capacity to take on big to underwrite big
businesses. Big risks.
So that might be, but let's wait and see what it is that the regulator NICOM will eventually do. But my thinking is that they might have to lose their operating licenses, and then we have those who have made the recapitalization threshold might just be the only companies, insurance company that might be operating. And it's important because the reason why the NICOM has to raise the capitalization threshold because in the past, really, we've seen insurance companies that yes, they underwrite various policies, but when it comes to paying claims, you see that the person being insured may have been paying his premium regularly, but when it comes to paying claim, when it is time to pay claim, you see them for dragging. And so that part of what it is that they want to address, so that you have enough to be able to do business. And then when it comes to, because what's really, why should an insurance company exist if you cannot pay claims?
Yes.
If the people that you have insured, I think the insured, have paid their premiums, it gets to a point where you should be able to pay claim when it is mature, depending on whether it is a life, if it is a life insurance, or when it gets to maturity. I mean, if it is non-life, maybe when the unexpected, happens. I mean, you should be able to compensate. You should be able to pay. If you cannot pay, really, I mean, you don't really have any business being in business. And I thought that one of the reasons why some of them are not able to pay is just that perhaps in the thinking of NICOM, the regulator, they don't have enough money to be able to do some of these things. Although in recent times, claims, payment of claims, has improved compared to maybe 10 years,
20 years
ago, because of course again there's also increasing awareness about insurance for people.
Which is what I really wanted to talk about, because there some people have the ideology or belief, right, that insurance or insurance companies always hesitate when it comes to paying claims, or they delay or they try to avoid paying claims. But because I've worked in insurance, I also want to say that many people need to understand insurance, right? So many people buy policies, whether life or non-life policies, without even understanding the policy that they are buying.
Without reading the policy document.
Yes, exactly. Because the policy document can be a lot sometimes when you look, as natural as Nigerians, we even find it hard to read terms and conditions, talk less of reading policy document. And so many times when you read the policy document, you will see the clause. Oh, this clause, that clause, that clause. And so everything is clearly stated. But sometimes Nigerians, because it is like, oh, I buy, it's how an average Nigerian just feels, oh, I've paid for this thing, I've paid for this service. Even I'm talking beyond insurance, and you just feel like because now you've paid my money, now you now run my life. But the truth is, if you read the policy document, you will see certain things. Okay, there's this buyback clause, there's an excess clause on your vehicle, maybe this is what we're going to pay. And then when people now come, maybe they have an accident or whatever, something happens, flood, especially like now with the flood, you might see it, you might have not read your policy, and it's not anything, because they try to make it look like I'm not an insurance company, but because I've worked, so I understand this thing. They try to make it look like these insurance companies are being shady. They're not being shady. It was written there. So if you did not read, so many times the relationship manager will say, please ma, can you please make sure you read the policy document. People just collect it and then they put it in their bag, or even if it's a document that was sent via email, it's just like, okay, ensure that be from which day to which day. That's just what they put in mind. So when they now come and say maybe your policy did not cover flood, so perhaps you are affected this season where there's water and there's flood, and then your vehicle, you're like, oh, I have insurance, let me reach out to, I don't want to mention any company, and they're like, ma, your own policy only covers for fire. They don't like to pay. Then it comes the problem, oh, insurance don't pay, they all try to avoid paying claims. Meanwhile, the relationship manager will say, please ma, or please sir, could you please read your policy documents and see and know that this thing, they would not read it, but they go on social media and start crying foul and saying all sorts of things, and demarketing insurance companies, demarketing brands, and saying that they did not do this, they did not do that. I'm just trying to say that on both parties' side, because the good ones, because I don't want to mention names, so it's not look like I'm taking side. The good insurance companies don't shy away from paying claims. That's why they are in business. It's a pool of funds. They pull the funds, because in a year, if they pull funds from 100 people, maybe only like, I'm just saying, maybe only like 30 people will have claims. Yeah. So you think they don't have your money? They do, the good ones. So because there's no normal, and that's why I'm saying that, and that's why as people also make your good and sound judgment before you buy insurance, before you buy whether group, as a company, whether a group like, do your background check and know, oh, this insurance company is good, this is not good. People complain a lot about health insurance. I agree about that one, but the truth is, if we actually still look at, I think what our conversation should be, right, especially for health insurance, because people will say when you go to that's health insurance actually more human resource, whatever it is that they need to do to just make that gap. Because having to wait, oh, I have a headache, and then they said, oh, go to the hospital and it might be this thing, and then you're waiting, they're like, ma, just first of all the line, and then they're saying we're trying to get confirmation from your this thing, HMO. From your HMO, and then you are waiting and you're waiting. That part is frustrating. If insurance companies can do something about that, if you're insured, because sometimes you now find out, imagine after waiting, they'll not tell you, ma, sorry, we're no longer,
your HMO has not confirmed.
Yes, or they'll tell you, ma, you're no longer, they always
on this
that's the worst part, because they have different plans. So they're not. So my problem is, I don't know where they need to tighten that. If it's between the HMO and the organization that you work for, because
Yes.
most times it's the corporate. If the HMO has communicated and maybe the organization has not communicated, we need to understand, because it's so annoying when they tell you, when you've gone to the hospital that you think is your hospital, and then after you, ma, you're no longer in this
plan.
You're no longer on this
And so
plan. After waiting,
where you are does not take care of this, so you need to probably upgrade or something.
yeah.
But those are the things that human resources manager of various corporate organization that they sign people onto HMO and then get them connected to hospital should actually be able to.
That's what they should be doing. So if
Because
they,
like you said, it can actually be
except the company,
frustrating.
that's why I'm saying that I don't want to make conclusions. It's either the company, the insurance company, has not passed that information saying, oh, I don't want to mention any hospital. I'm trying to avoid, oh, this hospital is no longer under our gold plan. This hospital is no longer this thing. These are now the new hospitals. So they can communicate to staff so that you know that if you have an issue, if you were going to Oak Hospital, and that was where your what's it called, your plan was under, they cannot tell you that, oh, your plan, Oak Hospital is no longer no longer caters for.
Yeah.
You are now in the, so at least when you're going, you don't waste. Do you know how it is moving around in Nigeria? You now go all the way to a place, and after waiting, they now tell you, oh, this is not. So that's corridor, that side, that part of things, they need to fine tune that, and then the waiting time needs to be resolved. Otherwise, I always say that insurance companies need to invest in more publicity. They need to create more awareness. People need to understand how insurance works, what an insurance covers. If I want to insure my phone, they stole my phone recently, and I was paying because before I was always that person that would insure my phone. But suddenly, life happened. No.
You did not insure it.
And I felt so embarrassed that, oh, look at it. So
Well,
life happened. Yes, I won't be there talking with I'll be smiling with Mr. Bassi. So those are the important things that we need to know. And insurance companies need to invest. They need to see this as investment, because an average Nigerian sees insurance as a bad thing to do. They see it as bad women.
Really, as people who just come and take money from you.
They see it as, oh, am I wishing for bad?
But that is
that's an average Nigerian's mentality. They will tell you that, oh, God, even churches do insurance.
We've been praying that nobody should die, but people are still dying. So there are some things that are just the way they are. That's just the way they are. So really, for people should take insurance policy against risks. There's no doubt about. I was at a function where during the NSAS protest, where a man was actually lamenting that his outlet, was completely, he ran, an outlet for fast food outlet, and was completely, destroyed. Everything that he had there, was carted away, and completely he lost everything. And then they asked him, do you have insurance? He said, no, unfortunately, so some of these things, because you can never really tell. And while you pray, and while you try as much as your own part to protect the business and all of those things, you can never tell what happens.
You never can
You
tell.
can only just do what you can do. You never can tell what happens.
And insurance is let me just finally add that insurance is a very great financial decision that anybody who is looking to anybody who has a wealthy mindset needs to always put in place, because it's part of your financial choices. So everyone should actually not see insurance as a last course of action, but it should be part of your daily life. Like, okay, at the start of the year, I'm doing, when you're making plans, you should make plans.
I think the government is trying to make it
as well.
I think compulsory for. There's some things that are now being forced on you. For instance,
like which and which
building. If you are building, I think in Lagos now, if you are going to build a new house, you got to take insurance policy. So I think also considering fire. You take insurance policy against fire. Your house, collapse, and all of those things. So some of those things are now being made compulsory.
Right. Let's move on and see what we have on the next paper this morning. I think we should look at what we have on the Vanguard paper this morning, while we still hope and we keep our fingers crossed and see what happens for these 8 insurance companies that are waiting
Yeah,
their
they're
fate.
waiting out their
But let's see what we have on the front page of the Vanguard paper this morning. It says 10 trillion naira investment in 13 years fail to lift past. Let's talk about it. Then on page 14, it says NICOM complete capitalization clears 43 insurance. We already spoke about that. And on page 8, it says President Islam's Atiku over criticism of federal government's economic policies. Those are some of the stories we have on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. Mr. Bassi.
Yes, so let's just briefly look at the lead story. 10 trillion investments in 13 years failed to lift power supply. I think it is what it is a little bit. I mean, since I was a little boy,
imagine that.
Talking about power, and yet as we speak, we haven't still, gotten steady power supply in Nigeria.
Same old.
That is quite unfortunate. 10 trillion is not a mean. It's not a mean amount of. It's not a mean sum. It's a huge sum of money, and that over a period of 13 years, that investment has gone into the power sector. But it looks as if there's really nothing to show for it, because as we speak, Nigerians still don't have a steady power supply. As we speak, in fact, as we speak, a lot of corporate organizations and a lot of manufacturers are actually leaving the national grid to have their own, private power plant to power their operations. Even including Aso Rock, which is the seat, the seat of the presidency. It's
so unbelievable.
The seat of the presidency of Nigeria. So you can tell you how bad it is, and for 13 years, this sum has gone into that sector, and we still don't have power supply. I think that I don't know how the Nigerian power, situation can be addressed, can be tackled. To bring us to a level where people can actually wake up and see light. As they're going to bed, they see as they wake up, they see light, and then use it to, because we need life for so much, to be able to run this economy. Whether we are talking about at the micro level, at the macro, we're talking about small businesses, we're talking about big businesses, manufacturers. I mean, life actually is the life wire, really, because machineries, you need light to be able, you need power to be able to breathe, to breathe those machinery. At the smaller level, where you have maybe people doing maybe frozen food, or maybe people even as something as little as barbing salon, right? Even where you ladies, you go for your to do your hair, and where we go to barb, to have haircut. Those, so you go there, you find out that they are running generators, right? So if they have steady power supply, perhaps they won't charge as much as we pay today, right? So it means that we probably will have more money in our pocket to be able to do other things. But they take so much from you, they take so much from me, because they buy fuel to be able to power generate. And of course, unfortunately, the price of fuel is not cheap. So whether we're looking at it from a small business perspective, or we are looking at it from a big organization, so power is what we need. Maybe government would probably need to make more investments, and then of course again, when huge sum of money like this that we're talking about is released, and then I think there's also a need for maybe to monitor to see whether indeed what the money is released for, whether, and then just look at that sector and see really what's going wrong. Why is it that we haven't been able
I wonder why we've
address,
not been able to address it for
ages. For ages, really. I mean, we probably still operating with whether 4,000.
But I need to understand something. But how come we're supplying? Aren't you supplying? Don't we have something like we're supplying power to some neighboring states, the Benin Republic? How is that happening?
But if it's an agreement, if you sign an agreement with them to supply to them, of course you just have to.
But how are we able to supply when we don't even have enough?
But maybe the little we generate, I mean, can still supply. Is it because it's you make money from it, right? You make money. It's not free. You pay and you make money from it, so that's understandable. But you need to generate more, and apart from just generating, we need to transmit what is generated, right? And then we need to distribute what is generated. So whether we're looking at generation, or we are looking at transmission, or we are looking at distribution, we need more investment in these three legs, if I may call them that, as far as the power sector is concerned. Generate more, transmit, and distribute to homes, to those who have. And then there is also, because a lot of times you also hear them talk about paying the right pricing, the right power. Maybe we are not paying the right price for power. Maybe that's why investment is also better. The right pricing, but people, I don't know which one should come first. Whether you invest more and then you generate, or whether people should pay more before you then get the money that people are paying to be able to put into the sector and generate more power and then distribute more power. I don't know. So, but whatever it is, I mean, there need to be a balance so that what people when people pay, really, because these things are not cheap. When people pay, actually, they can see the benefits of what the value of what they pay for. But before we move, there's a story I think is of interest. Throughout the weekend, it was generating a lot of issue, controversy, outrage, and it's a story where the Cardinal, the Catholic bishop, you recall, had gone on a visit to Mr. President, and they went there, and then they well articulated, point that they feel that the president should look into. We're talking about insecurity, we're talking about the economy, there's an issue around politics, and then of course they stated their case. Maybe the president perhaps was not too pleased with the way they were bold, they were courageous, but at the end of the day, and it shouldn't be a crime. Whether it should be constructive, but when you think that, because I watched the interview where Cardinal John Onayekon was, asked, and he said, the president said, and he said, all is fair in politics. And the man said, is that true? Is all fair in politics? Elizabeth, is that all fair? Is all fair in politics?
No, all is not fair.
Politicians believe that all is fair in politics, but I don't think so. I mean, and I think that the man actually disagreed that all is fair in politics. So I think that the level of criticism that we've seen against the Cardinal should not really be so, because people must also understand, and maybe for, I don't know, for younger people may not know, the Catholic Church, all over the world, is known for being firm. Is known for all of the time love to speak, to stand, with the people. Whether you are talking about Desmond Tutu or of South Africa later, then whether you are even in Nigeria here, I recall in the military era we used to have this. There was, I'm trying to remember his name. He's a retired cardinal now. During the military era, it was a lot of criticism against.
I don't want to make a wrong guess. But among the cardinals I know, Okoje.
Exactly, is the one I'm trying to remember now. They used to strongly criticize Babangida during the Abacha era. They strongly criticized Babangida. I also recall the late prelate of the Methodist Church, Sunday Mba. These are clergymen who were bold and they criticized the government. And it's always been like that. And I recall when this thing was going on, and I recall I just tried to where I discovered that even under Jonathan, remember this same Cardinal John Onayekon, I remember telling Jonathan, Mr. President, be bold enough to fight corruption, be bold enough to address corruption and the allegation of corruption in your government. In 2017, he also talked to the late President Muhammad Buhari. So when you appoint people only from your village, that's gross corruption. And I didn't see the level of attack at that time that I'm seeing right now. And I think that the current government need to understand that Nigerians, that criticizing Mr. President is not a crime.
It's not a crime at all.
You should
It's
tolerate some
free.
of this thing and then take some of this thing in good faith.
Yeah, take it in good faith and
yeah,
act on it as much as
act on
possible.
it.
This insurance matter.
Random projects scatter here and there. I think it's important that you need to just award, present, their own budget,
Right.
and then the budget is approved by the national. The budget is prepared by the executive, input of all the ministries, and then pushed to the National Assembly. The National Assembly would approve it, and then fund is then released from the executive. So if a fund is released to you and then as a ministry, and then you can go ahead and actually execute the project that you have, listed among the ones that you are going to execute for the year. But the point is that if fund has not been released to you, and I think that's another issue really, because some of these projects may even be that the ministry may have actually embarked on started them or maybe awarded those contracts, believing that fund will come. Okay, but I think what the federal government is now saying now is that look, if the fund hasn't come, don't award the project, right? So you wait.
Wait for the fund.
Wait for the fund, and then before you then award the contract. So you don't award the contract, maybe with the expectation that the fund will come, and eventually the fund doesn't come, and then the contract is abandoned. So you just wait. The fund comes. You've seen the fund, okay, fine, this can execute this project, and then you award the contract. I think it makes a lot of sense for me.
It does make sense. It does make sense. And speaking about this awarding contract or no contract, let's see what we have on the cartoon of the day this morning on the Business Day newspaper. I think that's a very interesting piece that we have there. So we see something that looks like a bridge. Is it a bridge? And then, oh my goodness, then we see vote renewed hope on the poster. So now it's
building bridges, focus on the people, focus on the roads, and then because actually some of these flyovers, because it's becoming a trend now. In Edo State now, there's a bridge. Shun State now, there's a building a flyover. But the question really is that are those flyovers actually what the people need? Are they actually what the people? Because you just build a flyover in a
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
For 25 years, Business Day has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, Business Day now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new Business Day website today and experience the future of news.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny.
Good morning and welcome, viewers. This is Business Week, a weekly program where we dissect business trends that happened over the course of the week and help it make sense for our listeners and audience. My name is Lolade. I'm standing in for the publisher today, who's usually the host. And I'm joined by Bumi Billy, one of our usual guests, and a new debutant, if you like, Dikko Oladende.
Good morning, and good to be here.
Great. So before we get into our conversation for the day, we have an exciting lineup for you. Let's just take the headlines. On a local scene, Nigeria deploys troops to Guinea-Bissau for ECOWAS peace mission. Nasima launches applications for 150 million. Last time it never happened. Same MTN, but now you have a situation where half year, almost 3 trillion naira. There's a lot of money in this economy.
Yeah. Well, for me, a whole lot. And when you check the fact that a large data
business,
is basically one of the biggest drivers for this growth we've seen. And despite all of, prices were increased, and then a lot of Nigerians were complaining, oh, prices were up, blah, blah, blah. You would expect that to trickle into subscription rates, but I'm not sure that's really because, again, the business still did very, very well compared to the preceding quarter. So it showed that, yes, a lot of Nigerians are spending more time on their phone, but then a lot of business activities are now going on their phone. A lot of business transactions can be done via your WhatsApp, via your social media handles. So there's a booming business around, again, we live in hybrid environments where a lot of people are connecting to meetings, virtual, either within the country or outside the country. So the economy is not no longer sleeping based on a 9 to 5. There's a lot of economy that works around beyond the official 9 to 5 hours. And then all of this is trickling down into the telecom, and now you can see their revenue. And of course, they're paying dividend, which is what matters the most.
Yes,
for
sure. Investors, right?
Yeah, so, but yes, even though their profit was a good one, in terms of growth rate, it wasn't better compared to last year.
Are you talking about MTN?
MTN, yes, MTN. I mean, I remember in...
Profit after tax rose 70%.
Yes, but if you look at it in maybe H1 2024 compared to H1 20, it's grew by triple digits percentage growth. And then when MTN hit a trillion naira revenue was in Q1 last year. That was when they exited loss. So what I'm just trying to say is, yes, there are off loss, their back profits are rising, but I'm just saying that the performance last year is better compared to this year. Although the CEO Carl was saying that this is the first time, I think, in a while they had an FX gain compared to last year.
Maybe I'm going to take it this. I don't see how last year's performance was better than
No, do you know why? Because I remember when, I think it was when did they release their H1? July, right? I mean, the profits grew by 200%, like almost 200% growth. And then August 1st, that was when everybody was talking about MTN hitting the 10 trillion market cap, right? So investors were just rushing, the shares were rising. I mean, if you compare the share price of MTN last year, it was around maybe close to 400 or something. Now it's around 800. I'm just saying investors' appetite for the company was actually massive last year. But when you look at it now, even though it's close to about 7 trillion, the growth rate is not higher, is not as much as last year. So, but Carl said something that I think when they suspended end-time lending, that affected their books. But when you look at the contribution to the revenue, it's not even up to.
Yeah, it's insignificant because a company that is declaring 2.9 trillion in revenues and 707 billion naira in profit after tax. The airtime lending business, the entirety of it was worth 400 billion. And MTN is certainly not the only player in that market. So that the amount that is not a.
But they said they are going to actually resume.
But speaking about still on MTN, because we need to also talk about Seplat. But speaking of MTN, I think good results. Yeah, you talked about the share price movement. It's been tremendous, and I think it's because people see real value in that stock, and that's why it's doing the way it's doing. And the truth is that if you look at the business, it's a very sustainable one that will keep giving. What drove revenues this time was data revenue, and you know that more people are consuming data.
Even despite the tariff.
Yes, more people are consuming data. It's what it is. So as that happens, you'd expect that more investors will price that into. But before we talk about Seplat, because this also impacts Seplat and all of the listed companies, Seplat also did well, 400 and something % increase in PAT. But are we, the Nigerian Stock Exchange in returns has been up 60% so far this year. But, and you have companies like MTN, Seplat and Co that are doing well, you know, attracting very good investor confidence and all that, but it looks like it's a local game. The foreign investors are still not really playing in the equities market. Because if you look at the capital importation report, you see that most foreign investors put money instead in the bond market. I think we've talked about this on the show before. Times. You know, the money is going to the bond market debts, right? But not much is flowing into equities. You know, and these guys are not, they don't feel bad in any way that they've missed out on what is the world's best stock market return.
In fact, there's something.
And then you have companies like MTN, etc., that are still doing well, and then the outlook is they would even continue to do well. Is this the opportunity now for local investors to just dig in, you know, waiting that the foreign guys might come later and that would drive another rally? Is this the time now for the local investors to position? Because we need to bring this home. Yes, it's good that these companies are declaring good profit, but what does it mean for the average investor, the retail investor? They're asking questions. Are these good companies to invest in, MTN, Seplat?
Yeah, well, for me, I think of course, because the more these companies are doing well in terms of numbers, more dividend. Yes. I mean, for an average, if I'm buying a company stock at 10 naira and 6 months, 20 naira, 30 naira, I mean, that's a big deal for investors, right? And of course for shareholders. So again, to the question of why foreigners are not playing in the markets, I mean, I've not thought about that before. So the first thing that came to my mind is, are they still skeptical about the Nigerian markets? Is it a pre-election year conversation? Do we need to do more in terms of putting structures in place just to lure them into the equities markets? Do we need to? Because I'm just thinking a lot about it, but I don't have
confidence. I just think, I mean, several times we talked about this, how the FX reform really badly hurt a lot of multinationals, right? I mean, MTN was badly hurt, was affected. I can't remember one other, Cadbury and so. So I guess they've not really recovered from those losses because they were really bleeding. So I guess it's going to also take time. And you know, we've talked about what they are doing to actually, the companies and businesses in Nigeria. You know, we've talked about, okay, what's the government doing to actually improve the business environment? Because for you to actually attract foreign investment, you actually have to improve your business environment. And how do you improve the business environment? You reduce inflation, you reduce interest rates, you give out loans to businesses. So when those businesses have access to credit, they are able to expand, and that increases employment opportunities, and that increases economic activities. And when investors begin to see that, they will not have that confidence to invest. So that's just really the ish that's happening.
I mean, for me, it's slightly different. I feel like, yes, while it's important for us to, do something about the ease of doing business, reduce the cost of business. But the truth is, some of the challenges that we have today, they've always been there. They were there in 2014 when we had a lot of foreign investors exposed to the market, and they're still largely there today, sadly. But I think that perhaps, sometimes maybe these foreigners are just waiting to see if we're able to sustain the reform momentum.
Is important.
Because I think for them, what matters the most is they're investing in dollars. What matters the most is your FX market. The central bank has done all the right reforms to ensure that the naira is stable. We're building external reserves, about $52 billion now. That should give confidence, because that's like 10 months, provides cover for 10 months of imports. That should give confidence. But it looks like the foreigners are just also distracted by the fact that, look, it's about opportunity costs. They look at the debt market and they see that they can make good, significant, high double-digit returns in the bond market. So why take a risk by going into the equities market? So I think it's a case of, they would rather just for now. So when you have a situation where, if it wasn't for some of the latest developments that toppled our forecasts for lower inflation rate and then lower MPR rate this year, maybe we would have started seeing CBN cutting rates. But I think that when you start to see that happen, rates start to come down, the bond market, the returns are not as attractive as they are now, high double digits, then it will force foreign investors to take a look at them. But right now, they are more than okay just lending money to the federal government without taking any risk whatsoever.
Exactly.
But the equities market, there's always one risk or the other. Even though we know that these companies are doing well, but just one event can, make things.
There was something I discovered on Friday. In fact, something I'm working on. I remember when we talked about how Nigerian stock market is the best performing in the world.
Yes, yeah.
Zimbabwe has overtaken Nigeria.
Oh, really?
But my view
is that in dollar terms?
In dollar terms.
Investment in equity would really add more value to the Nigerian economy.
Absolutely.
Because that's where you can get value across the value chain, and then you can see the multiplier effect.
Yes. And for our reform story as well, for our growth story, our economic picture, it's always best when people are investing in the equities market, because that's equity capital they're dropping, right? That they're putting in. They're taking a piece of that business because they feel like, yes, this has process. So they are putting their money where their mouth is, right? They're involved. But when it comes to the debt market, you're essentially lending. You don't need to believe in the reforms that the government of the day is overtaking. What matters is that I'm lending this money to you at this rate, and you pay me when it's time. Simple. So I think but those rates are high. Those rates are still very high, because the central bank has an eye on inflation and all of that. So when we start to see those rates come down, I guess we would start to.
I wonder what's going to happen when I think July is out, right? Is it July we're expecting, right? I wonder how July inflation rates will be. That's what I'm kind of wondering, because a lot of African countries have started seeing a decline in inflation, like Kenya, for example. It's picked up again.
And it's down to the US-Iran.
And Ghana too has, in fact, the story I did, badly hurt by this Iran war. And now I hear that oil prices close to 90. Is it last week? Right?
Dropped this morning.
It's up and down.
It's
crazy.
He's trying to predict the oil market.
That's what I'm saying.
Because of all what is happening. The global talk, anything little news event. We don't know what's happening with the US-Iran. They cease fire today. It's resume hostilities. It's just.
It's true.
Do we still have time to talk about Seplat?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, let's talk about the highlights of Seplat as well. I mean, Seplat is one big company. It's the largest indigenous oil company in Nigeria. So, it's always good to talk about them. A lot of people do not know that Seplat already pays dividends in dollars. I know that people thought that Dangote refinery would be the first one, but Seplat has been doing it. But let's talk about Seplat. Their revenue rose by, profit after tax rose by 498% to $164 million.
Almost 500%.
Yeah. And then revenues of $1.82 billion, up from $1.3 billion last same period last year.
Yeah.
So talk us through the numbers.
No, we started talking about the fruits of reforms, right?
Yeah.
So one of the fruits, this is a classic example of a company that is benefiting from the reforms of the new administration. So let's not forget that they signed a deal to acquire ExxonMobil assets. That deal took forever, and immediately the deal was approved. They got to work, and what we are seeing now is gas production and oil production from the ExxonMobil's assets that they bought are now tickling into Seplat's oil production. So some of those assets were lying fallow, they were non-explored due to one or two issues. So Seplat have been able to get those fields up and running. So that's the basic thing that is driving their numbers. And then guess what? They've not even explored 50% of the total assets they got from ExxonMobil.
Incredible.
So they were able to, so in H1, they were able to revive at least 26 oil wells. So that's contributed about 55,000 barrels to their current oil production. So they have a total oil production now of about 156,000 barrels per day. So clearly they are the biggest in terms of oil production, and again they've not scratched half
because they've not even started to reap 50% of what is possible for the Exxon assets.
So there's still gas as well. So the outlook is high. I mean, if you have the money, you should be looking into
Seplat.
Seplat.
I know one interesting thing is that Seplat actually has a lower price to earnings ratio than Aradel. You know, people thought that, you know, Aradel is the new entrant. Aradel is like the next Seplat. If you look at the share price, Seplat is how much? It's over 10,000 naira, you know, and then Aradel is still around 8,000, something less than 2,000 naira, you know. But interestingly, Seplat actually has a higher price to earnings ratio than Aradel. And for our listeners, I think it's important because if you really want to, if you're doing stock valuation, that's how you know it's a stock that is undervalued or overvalued. It's not really by the absolute price. It's like looking at how much investors are paying for each naira or each dollar of earnings from that company. And Seplat is around, I think, 13 times, and Aradel is 16 times. Yes.
What does that mean?
It means Aradel is more expensive than Seplat. Even though Seplat is over 10,000, less than 2,000. Yeah.
I mean, Seplat is you can't go wrong when you do business or when you invest your money in with Seplat, because first of all, they are listed on the London Stock Exchange as well.
Yeah, that's
a lot of
that counts for something.
That counts definitely for something. And then the fact that they are also very, they are being run by some of the best in the entire market. So one of the major highlights, again, which we didn't mention as well, is they actually sold some of their JV assets to NNPC as well for about $268 million, which is, I mean, a big deal, considering the fact that, so what that deal did was to increase their cash and allows them to, I think their debt they took some loans to acquire the ExxonMobil assets, so they are paying off some of those loans as well, and then loans have reduced by at least 50% as well. So the point is, again, I mean, at BusinessDay, we did an article of how nobody would have known about this deal if Seplat had not paid them, done their due diligence in trying to meet their London Stock Exchange regulatory approval, and then, of course, the Nigerian Stock Exchange approvals as well, by revealing to investors what they are doing with their money. Because you can't just take your investors' money and not tell them what you are doing with it. So you need to give an account for it.
So is it that the London Stock Exchange is making them to be more accountable and more transparent?
Well, the truth is, when you are listed on the London Stock Exchange, it's actually much more rigorous. A lot of things are, excuse me. So a lot of demands will be made from you. Your books have to be as open as possible. There's no.
Transparency is a big deal.
Transparency is so much a big deal.
But now, so it looks like, from what I hear you say before, Seplat still has very bright prospects, even though it's doing well now. If it starts to get 100% of the assets acquired from ExxonMobil, you know, just sweating all of that, it will definitely add to the number of barrels produced and all of that. But you know, there's also something significant that has happened at Seplat this year, which is the change of the change in ownership. Chairman, the chairman, the new chairman, yes, and then the MD as well. How do you see? I mean, the replacements for both the chairman and the CEO. Of course, the chairman being Tony Elumelu, and then the new CEO as well. How do you see that change impacting Seplat going forward?
Well, so it's a bit, first of all, the chairman is not a traditional oil and gas person, right? So the CEO is somebody who has been part of the system and then is coming in to perhaps give new ideas or fresh ideas. Looking at where surplus had been coming from Austin Avuru to Roger Brown, and now there's a new guy in town as well. The company have always been building on previous momentum, right? So even when I think Udo Udoma was the chairman at some point, despite that, it doesn't stop them from trying to bid for more assets. And looking at how bullish Tony Elumelu is, he wants to. I'm not sure he has invested in anything, and that thing had seen a decline, right from. So the fact that Tony Elumelu is a well-known name in the markets, so that would count for something as well when Seplat is going bullish. So the outlook is they'll probably be acquiring more assets. So anytime there's a major, the last time there was a bid round, Seplat was not part of it because they claimed they wanted to fully maximize the ExxonMobil assets because they don't believe in buying assets and then keeping it and not utilizing it. So they want to completely sweat out the ExxonMobil assets first of all. All the money is channeled towards sweating out the ExxonMobil assets. Then they'll move to go back to the bid rounds and then start bidding for assets, either from IOCs that are investing or the government that is willing to sell. So Tony's factor is there. The fact that he has antecedents of being a very multi-dimensional running successful companies, and then the fact that they have a corporate structure that evolves around being the number one oil company in Nigeria. So whoever is coming in, you have to key into the corporate structure and then just go along the fact that this company is set to perhaps be the next big deal in Nigeria's market.
I saw a news last week about Tony. I don't know, the oil fields that the government was meant to give, but he wasn't. He was part of the guys that were not. He lost out on the bid. Thank you.
So it's not Tony. It's not the surplus. It's Airs Energy. And then Airs Energy is about they are doing currently about 3,000 or 2,500. I mean, some have speculated that there's a likelihood that Seplat might take over the Airs Energy because majority of people who are running the Airs Energies are not they are core finance people, really. They don't have the industry technicalities in terms of running oil and gas assets. So they are, I mean, some have speculated that. But then again, interesting times ahead, and we look forward to what the markets will look like under Tony.
All right, on that note, we'll take a short break and we'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
Looking for fast and reliable answers to your business and economic questions? Meet SIA, BusinessDay's Strategic Intelligence Assistant, Nigeria's first AI-powered news chatbot. Simply visit businessday.ng, click the SIA chat icon, and ask your question in plain language. Whether it's inflation, market trends, company insights, government policies, or personal finance, SIA delivers instant answers powered by BusinessDay's trusted journalism. Smarter insights, faster decisions. Visit businessday.ng today and discover the future of business intelligence with SIA.
Nigeria, a land of boundless energy, driven by the pulse of over 200 million dreams. At the heart of this momentum stands a giant, Seplat Energy, an indigenous powerhouse accounting for a vital share of Nigeria's oil and gas output, propelled by the historic acquisition milestone with the acquisition of ExxonMobil's onshore and shallow water assets, significantly expanding its production capacity and marking its entry into offshore operations. We are the engine of prosperity, Nigeria's leading domestic gas supplier with a total gas production output of 2.7 billion cubic feet and the landmark Ano gas project delivering first gas. We have elevated our total processed gas output to 855 million standard cubic feet per day onshore. Indeed, we have brought domestic gas utilization to new heights, powering industries and securing energy for millions. But we are not just growing production, we're growing responsibly. By ending routine flares, we are decarbonizing our operations today to protect the Nigeria of tomorrow. Our reach is expanding. From offshore gas distribution to the growth of CNG for transport and industry, we are deepening our presence across the entire value chain. Our impact reaches the grassroots. Through innovative mini-grid projects, we are bringing clean, reliable energy to local communities, fueling economic empowerment where it's needed most. We are more than an energy company. We are a partner in progress, a leader in the energy transition, a giant rooted in Nigeria for Nigeria. Seplat Energy, leading Nigeria's energy transition, powering the future.
At Providus Bank, we're committed to your growth and success. You're never alone on the journey. Our personalized relationship banking is how we do things together. It's what sets us apart. We value every individual and partnership and treat them as such. We're committed to helping you grow and celebrating your success. This is your life story, your future, your forward. This is all about you. Let's move you forward. Providus Bank.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
And we are back. Before we took our short break, we were talking about the impressive outing of some of Nigeria's largest companies, MTN, Nigeria, and Seplat, and their half-year financial results, and what it means for investors and the retail market. But before we pivot to our next topic of discussion today, I still want to do a quick one. So, of those two companies we talked about, Seplat and MTN, buy, hold, sell, what would it be for you? For Seplat?
Buy.
Seplat? Buy, hold, sell, Buni?
Buy.
Buy. Okay. I'll say buy as well. So I think it's a unanimous. The MTN, buy, hold, sell.
I think I would sell.
Now, we might have a larger debt stock now because obviously you know that the external debt component has also ballooned because of the Naira devaluation, but at least we're not borrowing from the central bank.
I thought we were trying to reduce our exposure on that external borrowing.
Yeah, at least we're not borrowing from the central bank.
Well, my view
which was what we were doing, that it went as high as 23 trillion, 22.9 trillion under the previous administration.
My view is your subsidy thing was like a scam. Because first of all, let's not forget that at some point during the subsidy era, our oil production was clocking 98 million liters a day. Now our actual production is hovering around 55 to 50 million liters. A large chunk of those money the government claims they were borrowing was because our consumption numbers were inflated. Because a lot of people claim we are consuming, again, how industrialized that way to be consuming 98 million liters a day. When how many, apart from Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, how many other states are economically viable to consume that amount of petrol? So we can't borrow as much as that again, because we can see the true picture of what Nigeria's actual petrol consumption is. But then again, if you are giving more money to the local government and you are giving more money to the states, should that have been the best way to have any excess of any amount of money, be it 1 million, be it 2 billion, no matter how small it is? Should sharing it to the different levels of government being the solution? Or should we have had a pause, put perhaps a trusted economists in charge of the pause and say, look, let there be the same way we had a presidential committee on tax, can't you have a presidential committee on removal of petrol subsidy, and then let them give accounts to Nigerians
of how the money is being utilized.
Of how the money is being utilized. I mean, that's but that argument as well, that look, we don't borrow as much as we were doing during the subsidy era, is very valid. But then again, all of these money that have been given to these levels of governments, either the local or the states, should be properly accounted for. And I feel that that's where the federal government comes in, because the federal government controls key ministries and key parastatals that can hold the different levels of government responsible. You have the police, we have the EFCC, we have the ICPC, all these are under the control of the federal government. So if the federal government, and again, some have said, look, the federal government is using these institutions more like a underdog on the opposition. But then if these institutions of government have been up on their job, and then following the trail of the money, like, I mean, at some point in this country, the Inspector General of Police was under arrest because he was caught involved in corruption at some point. So if we have that level of attention to details of the security agencies monitoring all of these guys, I think we would have a better result. And because what we have now is, the moment you get this money, just jump to the ruling party, and then it's almost as if all your sins are forgiven. Remember Delta State, at some point, the governor of Delta is a very rich oil producing state. The governor was alleged to have stolen 1 billion. Immediately jumped camp. All of his sins were forgiven. So how do you hold such institutions
if you
accountable?
recall, there was a time when Tinubu appointed ministers, he said they were going to have a scorecard. What has gone with that scorecard so far? We don't hear about that anymore.
Do you need a scorecard to know how they're performing? I mean,
that is where the accountability comes in. So that I just had an example. That's where the accountability comes into. But how far have we gone with that? We've not heard about the scorecard since.
Maybe he hasn't just made it public. I mean, you've seen some changes in the cabinet. Wale Edun, for instance, has had to make. Maybe it's safe to assume that he's scored lowly on that scorecard. But maybe. Anyway, so that's that. Let's quickly deal with our last topic today. Ethiopia is selling passports for $10 million. $10 million. Ethiopia is Africa's second largest population, right? And the economy is opening up. Abiy Ahmed doing well. Like expectations have always been that he would make some significant impact in Ethiopia, and I think that is happening with what they're doing, opening up the economy to more private capital and everything. But now they're also then saying that investors, just to ease your entry and exit from the country, you get a passport for $10 million.
In fact, when I heard that amount, I was shocked, because
let's understand it first. What is this about?
So Usually the golden visa is more or less like citizenship by investment or investment by citizen. You become the citizen of that country by the investments you make. So, and the reason why you have Ethiopia and more other countries are doing it is because I remember previously in the show I talked about how US foreign aid has dropped. Ethiopia is the biggest beneficiary, but they're seeing a decline that affected them. So that's they have less access to revenue. And a lot of African governments like Ethiopia don't want to borrow externally because it's expensive for them to pay back those loans. So they are now trying to find a way to attract foreign investments locally. But my issue with that is that Mauritius, which is also a small economy, but in terms of wealth, they are like the per capita income, they're like the richest. I think they're like second richest. They did introduce a golden visa in April, but expect that $1 million. And then you have Botswana, which also did their own, I think in March. They are also considering it. It's not even up to 100.
So $10 million has to be the highest in Africa. What is giving Ethiopia this confidence to believe that?
Is their visa really worth that amount?
Because their visa, in terms of when you look at visa performance, it's still below par. Look at even countries. The highest, Singapore, for example, is around $8 million. And they have New Zealand. It's not even up to 5.
So what is that something Ethiopia is saying that's making them price this passport this highly?
So maybe what they are trying to do is to get ultra high rich guys, right? I remember when I had discussion
because the size of the market, you don't want to discount that. It's still the second largest
what
in
are
Africa.
You trying to get? Are you trying to? It's not even up to. It's not even. I don't think it's even up to.
That's if you're looking at the market today.
It's not up to.
But if you're making projections.
No, they are making projections. They are going to.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doreen is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
For 25 years, Business Day has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, Business Day now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new Business Day website today and experience the future of news.
Back to the Business Morning Live Show right here on Business Day Television. I am Deborah Eze. Now let's move to our topics of conversation this morning. We're examining CBN cuts TB yields, what it means for the investors, borrowing costs, and also the economy. The Central Bank of Nigeria's latest Treasury bill auction has sparked fresh conversation in the fixed income market, with stop rates declining across tenors despite strong investor demand. The development comes at a time when inflation is moderating, liquidity remains robust, and expectations are growing that interest rates may gradually ease. While lower Treasury bill yields could reduce the government's borrowing costs, they also raise important questions about returns for investors, capital flows, and what this signals for the broader economy. And to help us unpack what this means for investors, businesses, borrowers, and Nigeria's monetary policy outlook, we're joined by Abigail Additional. She's a research and insight analyst at Norumberger Financial Group. Good morning, Abigail. It's good to have you on Business Money Live.
Good morning, Deborah. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start off with the basics. The CBN has lowered Treasury bills yield despite stronger investor demand. So what factors influence this decision, and what message is the Apex Bank trying to send to the market?
All right, thank you, Deborah. Yes, we had Treasury auction on the 29th, right, of July, and the stop rate at both the 80 and 91-day tenor, was held constant, right? While that of the longer end of the curve, which is 364-day paper, was, declined, right? It was reduced by about 31 basis points thereabout, and that's quite expected, given how that's quite expected, regardless of the total of the heavy demand that we have. So if you check the B2 cover ratio of what we have in the previous, the earlier auction, which was the one in 15th of July, I suppose, compared to the one we had in the last one, it was a huge jump, from about 2.75, right, to over five times, B2 cover ratio. That shows a very robust investors demand, very high subscription. And regardless of that, or despite that, the DMO still chose to, decline or reduce the stop rate at the long end of the curve, right? And this already signals, the DMOs not wanting to pay so much. Their appetite for high borrowing is already declining, and we expect that going forward, that will be the trend, relatively modest stop rates going forward at both NTBs, particularly at the NTB auction. And this also, signals to or mirrors the MPC's direction as well. In the last MPC decision or MPC committee that we had, right, they had already, held the rate constant at 26.5%. So there are a lot of factors, working hand in hand, and we see that, continuing going forward as well.
You can agree with me, Abigail, that Treasury bills have been one of the most attractive investment option, in recent months. So with yields now falling, should investors expect lower returns going forward? And when might they begin to redirect their funds?
Oh, absolutely, right. Like I mentioned earlier, yes, Treasury is an attractive investment option, right? Very attractive, considering the fact that is issued by the government, of course, and is risk-free, considered an investor that does not have a high risk appetite would really want to go for Treasury auction and wants to push out money within the short term, right? And doesn't want to go for bonds, obviously, would do Treasury bills, compared to equities market, which has high risks and all of that, comparing the attractive yields that we've seen in the long term. And you'd agree with me that Treasury bills, the stop rate or the yields that we're seeing in the Treasury bills is still relatively high. It's not high as we had it, in 2025 and like that, but it's still a bit high, right? It's still relatively attractive. And now that the yields are beginning to fall, where then do these investors, channel their capital into, right? If you notice, in recent times, we've been having a lot of commercial papers. A lot of corporates have been issuing commercial papers, and as you would usually expect, the rates or the yields on commercial paper are higher, expected to be higher, than Treasury bills, of course, because that has higher risk, right? So we expect that investors will push their money, into these companies that begin to issue commercial papers, and also, of course, into equities market. The equities market has been doing great recently. Although in June we had profit taking, we had some profit taking in the month of June, right? And recently that we're beginning to have, a lot of companies declaring their dividend, a lot of companies, churning out or pushing out their Q2/H1 2026 financials. We expect that capital flow rather will also, be channeled into that direction. So commercial papers, commercial papers, equities market and the likes.
All right, lower treasury bills, they typically reduce the government's cost of borrowing. So how significant could this savings be, and could they create more fiscal space for government spending?
So if you look at the Q3 Treasury bill calendar, right, there's a total issuance or a total target, right, for the auction of 5.8 trillion, and we have about 2.64 trillion, right, close to 3 trillion in maturing, which brings the net borrowings in terms of Treasury bill particularly to about a little over 3 trillion, right, and then the DMO, right, TBM to the DMO now reducing the yields. Reducing the stop rates at the recent auctions already helps them to free up some capital, right? Free up some capital, instead of them paying so much, having a lot more to pay in terms of interest rate now, in terms of interest repayment now, right? This has helped them to free up some things for to settle the fiscal deficit that we already have. Expectedly, we would expect that they would use that the freed up cash, the borrowings, instead of paying higher interest rate, to use the money, it has given them a number of savings, a good amount of savings, and use that into more infrastructural projects, and also use the money from these different borrowings, right, to also do some shocks into the budget.
Let's speak about the impact. What impact could the declining treasury bill yields have on commercial banks? And should we expect banks to adjust their deposit rate and also lending rate in response?
Typically, now that banks are not, if you look at particularly First Old Co, and I think it was just First Old Co, banks that have released a financial statement recently, you see that they have a huge chunk of amount in investment securities, and that would be treasury bills and other short-term investments like that, government investment. If these banks, and now that these banks are beginning to get lower yields from this investment, they will in turn offer lower deposit rates or lower lending rates to their customers, because they usually want to have good bottom line, or good bottom line at the end of the day. So customers or depositors, right, will now begin to see lower deposit rates, lower interest rather on their savings, and when private sectors or anyone approach these commercial banks, they'll also be getting lower lending rates, because it's a direct effect, right? It's a net effect. It's spilling into the performance or whatever the commercial bank has to offer is what they have, right, that they can give in. So we expect lower lending rates, also lower deposit rate from these commercial banks.
So many analysts like yourself, they believe that lower fixed income yields could encourage investors to move into equities and other asset classes. So do you think we're likely to see increased activity in the Nigerian stock market as a result of it?
All right, so usually, right, normally when investors, and like I already said earlier, when investors pull their money, or when we begin to see lower yields, lower interest rate environment, the norm, right, is for us to see funds, right, being pulled into the equities market. So lower performance in the fixed income space, and then higher, performance in the Nigerian equities markets. And we expect that would still be the case, although, right, institutions and investors generally are beginning to lock in interest rather in the longer end of the curve in terms of fixed income. Back to equities, in the month of June, like I said earlier, we saw the NGX lost about 8% in the month of June, but in the month of July the NGX gained close to 7%, about 6.9% in the month of July. And that's to say that the NGX market, or the equities market, is very, very resilient, and we expect, right, that capital will flow into that direction, seeing stocks, especially in terms of defensive stocks, talk, right? Talk telecommunications, because average data usage will continue to increase. So feeding into the performance or the purchase, right, or increasing investor sentiment in those industries. So telecommunication, industrial goods, companies that produce staples, consumer goods companies, consumer goods sectors as well, industrial sector, right? So you see the cement guys as well. So we expect investors to, look into that direction, particularly now that we begin to have, we're in any season, right? So Q2, H1 results are turning out, and a lot of companies also declaring dividends. So investors' appetite or sentiment would be, of course, tilted into the equities market.
Right. The CBN has consistently prioritized inflation control. Does this latest move suggest the bank is becoming more confident about inflation outlook, or is it simply responding to excess liquidity in the system?
Yes, the CBN has been prioritizing inflation control, and you know that the CBN chairman, right, or the MPC generally, have been, practicing or using the orthodox approach, right, and they had a late 2026 into 2027 target of for inflation, a target of single-digit inflation. We're currently at 15.91, right, and does this latest move, suggest bank, to become more confident about inflation outlook? There are different sides to look at it. So we would say, firstly, like I said earlier, the NPC held the rate at their last meeting, right, at 26.50. And that was majorly on the back of inflation, inflation outlook, or majorly on the back of the global risk the risks that we've been having, particularly the uncertainty in the Middle East crisis, I beg your pardon, right? So that has affected, that has helped or made the MPC to take a very cautious stance, right? Holding the rate. And that is also, and that risk still holds, right? The war on all of that is still ongoing in that region, right? So if that persists, we expect that would affect inflation a bit, right? And that would in turn affect the MPC or the CBN's decision on whether they want to increase borrowing or increase interest rates, increase the benchmark interest rate, the MPR, and that would in turn, affect what we'll see, right, in terms of fixed income yields, particularly NTB yields. So they are all intertwined or interwoven in each other. So expectedly, right, we're giving Nigeria's domestic performance. We expect to see, because we are close to harvest season, so we expect to see lower prices or lower inflation in terms of food inflation, right? Food inflation reducing, core inflation still reducing on the back of service and relative exchange rate, right? So given all of those domestic factors, we expect that inflation will still have disinflation, right, to reduce, right, in the coming months. However, with the risk involved, the risk factor that I already explained earlier, if that's the rate is still there, the MPC will still continue to keep rate cautious, right? So inflation is a big consideration in this.
So let's speak to businesses and also manufacturers that are hoping for cheaper access to credit. So how quickly, if at all, could lower treasury bill yield, could the yields translate into lower borrowing costs?
For manufacturers and businesses, so I'd like to take this from the point of MPC benchmark rate, right? Or in terms of benchmark rates, and what I already explained earlier on how that in turn inform or influence treasury bill yields, right? We posit that to see a substantial before we can see a substantial effect in lower borrowing costs generally, before we can begin to say that they're now lower borrowing costs, and before that can now chip into credit access into businesses generally, especially manufacturing sectors, SMEs, private sectors, and approaching banks and all of this, and even using the government, to borrow money. before we can see that, we need to see a significant reduction in the benchmark rate. So talking like a 200, 150, 250 basis point reduction. That is when we can really see this, translate into those sectors, or translate into much more lower borrowing costs. At this point, the treasury bill was just, the stop rate rather, at the last auction was just reduced by 31 basis points. So it's still not relatively low, right? Especially when you're talking in terms of their numbers, right? So if you look at numbers of these industrial goods, companies who are capital intensive or who borrow largely, it has not really fed into, it would not, right, with this little amount, feed into their financials. So we expect to see it will only feed into their financials when it's, huge enough.
All right, Abigail, before I let you go, finally, what should investors, businesses, and also policymakers be watching over the coming months? Will this mark the beginning of a broader easing cycle, or is it too early to draw to that conclusion?
We expect, on the back of the things I already said earlier, we expect that, going forward, particularly in the rest of this year, and also giving into consideration that we are in a pre-election here, right? We expect that if the interest rates or yields in the treasury bills markets particularly would continue to decline relatively, and that's also on the back of the MPC still taking cautious stance, or reducing the interest, the MPR just slightly, right, as we go ahead in the remaining part of the year. Really, they still have two meetings to go, right? I think September and November, right? So we expect them to still be cautious, but cut interest rate. We expect lower interest rate environment, which will in turn feed into the fixed income space, lower interest rate environment, because we still want to maintain an attractive space for the foreign guys, and also a good outlook, right? In terms of a good outlook and a good landing, right, for the election year that is coming. So we expect lower interest rate environment, relatively lower going forward.
Thank you very much, Abigail, for your time on the Business Money Live.
Thank you.
All right, we're speaking to Abigail Adesina. She's the Research and Insights Analyst, Norimberger Financial Group. Go on a quick break. When we come back, the Business Money Live show continues. Just stay with us.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities. With millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
This is still the Business Day CEO from the 14th annual edition, and I've got a very lovely woman by my side this afternoon. Can you introduce yourself to us?
Absolutely. I'm Aderemi Saka. I'm the MD CEO of Nascon Allied Industries PLC, also known as Dangote Salt.
Fantastic. I'm going to start by asking you a simple question, really. Nascon Allied Industries relies almost entirely on imports, for its core raw materials, bringing in roughly $22 million to $24 million worth of goods annually. Now, tell me, how has this crisis in the Middle East, which has virtually halted, shipping fundamentally, has it shifted your organization's long-term approach to maritime risk management?
For us, it hasn't really impacted in terms of our imports, but the cost of importation has gone up. Our freight charges used to run between $21 and $25, and now we're seeing freight anywhere from $31 to $40. So that definitely has a significant impact on our cost. But what we are doing as a business is to also look at ways in which we can trim down on other costs. And so we've really looked at cost-saving initiatives across the board to be able to cushion that weight, because you definitely don't want to pass that on to your consumers.
Right. So we see many manufacturers they are increasingly turning to backward integration to reduce their dependence on imported raw materials. So how has this strategy helped your company?
In terms of backward integration of salt, that is very difficult because based on research, salt is you're not able to cultivate and to manufacture salt at the large scale within the country. But we're looking at all our other resources to see how we can really rely on local manufacturers. That is across the board in terms of our packaging material, in terms of other additives that we have to not just our salt, but also our seasoning. We're definitely relying more on local manufacturers to support those endeavors.
Now, you talked about something right there on the stage. You mentioned that energy cost amounts to up to 40% of your total input cost. So tell us more about that. Like, just break it down for us.
So that is an average across the nation, across manufacturing companies. You're seeing 30 to 40% of your costs are from energy costs. So what we have done as a business is, one, we try to ensure that all of our plants, they're running in the most efficient manner. We have a mix of both AGO generators and gas power generators. And so that is able to mitigate some of that cost. And then again, but the major thing I would say is efficiency, ensuring that you're producing in an efficient manner and you're optimizing your capacity so that way your variable costs are significantly less per product.
Fantastic. I think we'll just leave it there today because we know you have to run and we have to wrap up. But thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you very much.
pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dorin is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about business days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today. Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
You're still watching Business Morning Live right here on Business Day Television. I'm Elizabeth Musa. Africa continues to attract global attention as one of the world's fastest growing investment frontiers, but turning interest into long-term capital remains a challenge. While markets across the continent offer significant opportunities, investors continue to grapple with regulatory complexity, policy uncertainty, and the realities of expanding across multiple jurisdictions. As governments push reforms and the African Continental Free Trade Area opens new possibilities for regional trade and investment, the conversation is increasingly shifting from Africa's potential to the practical steps needed to make markets more competitive, predictable, and investment ready. Well, joining us this morning is Evelyn Mbula Unzuki. She is the founder and managing partner of MN Legal, a Pan-African law firm advising startups, high-growth businesses, and multinational companies on cross-border expansion and regulatory compliance. She's also the founder of the MNL Africa Leadership Circle. It's a platform that brings together investors, business leaders, and policymakers to advance practical conversations around investment and economic growth across the continent. Thank you so much for joining us, Ubula.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
It's very lovely that you're here this morning. You look really good.
Thank you. So do you.
So bright colors for a Monday.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the conversation. Firstly, I would also say congratulations on MNL Africa Leadership Circle. How's that been for you so far?
It's been a genuine delight. I'm pleasantly surprised by how it's all panned out. We had our inaugural convening last June in Nairobi, and it was very well attended, fully booked actually, and the outcomes were really amazing. It's been positive feedback upon positive feedback, and we're looking forward to having more of these convenings, not just in Nairobi but all over Africa.
Yes, fantastic. Now, Africa itself has strong economic fundamentals, yet we're seeing many investors still approach the continent with caution. Now, from your experience, right, doing what you do, legal and for even with event, what remains the biggest barrier to attracting long-term investment?
Right. Thank you so much for that question. The fundamentals of Africa are not in question at all. What I would say has been or continues to be a great challenge or a big barrier is the lack of predictability. You find that we continue to experience unpredictability from one market to the next, and this is from even a policy and regulatory perspective. It would be pleasant if investors would not have shockers, surprises if you like. So that predictability of understanding a market and being able to even come up with a 3 to 5 year plan and beyond for businesses without there being curveballs thrown at them unnecessarily would go a very long way.
Right, and you speak a lot about predictability, right? What does that look like in practice for businesses and investors operating across African markets?
Yeah, thank you. When we talk about predictability, we're basically looking at the entire spectrum from regulatory perspective, for instance, and also operational predictability. So if we're going to have incentives, for instance, we would like for those incentives to be there and not have them change unnecessarily. And of course, there will be changes and improvements from time to time. It would be important to have transition periods, such that this is communicated very well as well. And investors or business people are also sort of understand what exactly is happening. Then from one market to the next, you find that we are very deeply fragmented as an African economy, so to speak. So again, it's not predictable for businesses looking to scale from, say, Kenya into West Africa, say Nigeria, Benin, maybe North Africa, Morocco. It's not predictable at all. From even tax incentives, so most of this, like, they just change. Sometimes we have licenses being revoked, just overnight. Like, there isn't any heads up. This is the kind of unpredictability we're talking about, and it really goes a very long way to hurt us as business people and our continent in terms of how risky it is to even invest here. Yeah.
And speaking about investment in itself, we know that AFCFTA has opened up new opportunities for regional trade, but we're also seeing that many businesses still face challenges expanding across borders. Where are the biggest gaps you're seeing today?
Right. The AFCFTA has done a very good job with managing the tariffs, but again, in terms of the regulatory perspective, the harmonization that is still pending. Of course, the intention is there, but there still leaves a lot to be desired. We're yet to see the harmonization part of it take place. As I mentioned, it would be very lovely to see a place where we're able to say, from this country to the next, these are the kind of regulatory or policy frameworks that are already in place. I know that if I'm going to be scaling into West Africa from East Africa or West Africa into East Africa, this is what is expected. But you find that it's very fragmented. What happens in one country may not be what will happen in the next. And even though we have the regional blocks, even within that, it's still very fragmented, very unpredictable. So from a harmonization perspective, I would say we still have a long way to go. I believe that the goodwill is there, but then goodwill is not enough. So we have a lot of work to do. Yeah, from even regulatory, when you look at the contract sanctity, like, everything is just up in the air, so to speak. And I know, of course, I don't mean to make it sound all doom and gloom. we still have a long way to go, but I feel like we can do a lot more for now.
Goodwill is certainly not enough, and
Yeah.
you've spoken a lot about harmonization, and you've advised also companies expanding into multiple African markets. What are some of the most common legal and regulatory mistakes that that businesses make?
I would say thinking of Africa as a single market or a country. Of course, there's a joke that Africa is not a country. You'd imagine that would be obvious, but apparently not. So I would say Africa is not a market, is not a single market rather. And we need to think about this. Most businesses do not take enough time to do due diligence on a regulatory perspective. They focus more on maybe their financial due diligence. And then they don't take enough time to look at the legal and regulatory frameworks of a country. I've also witnessed that legal are engaged way too late, a little too late when maybe something is going wrong. Whereas actually the legal fraternity or lawyers should actually be part of your strategic planning. As a business looking to do business anywhere, whether in Africa or elsewhere. But most businesses, most entrepreneurs engage lawyers and legal workers or practitioners a little too late. I would say this is the biggest mistake I see. Thinking of Africa as one country or just one market, as opposed to taking the time to understand the different regulatory and legal frameworks, taking the time to understand the different cultures from one country to another. What works in the East may not work in the West or in the North or in the South. So we need to see business people take a lot more time to understand the market deeply beyond just the financials, understand the culture, understand the nuances, understand the legal frameworks, all of these different things, and please engage the lawyers and the legal practitioners from the outset as opposed to a little too late as an afterthought. Yeah,
that's so profound. Speaking about how Africa is often approached from a very one single standpoint, like this is Africa as against all countries, understanding their cultures, and how important this for also go beyond financials, engaging lawyers. And that will bring me to talk about your convening, your gathering, the leadership convening which you held in Nairobi recently, which brought together investors, obviously policymakers and business leaders from across the globe. So what were some of the key recommendations or areas of consensus that emerged?
Again, the biggest buzzword on this call has been, or conversation rather, has been predictability. We need to have the feel of Africa to be more predictable. So we need a lot more information to be out there. We need to have a better understanding of the legal and regulatory, frameworks. Yeah, thank you. And also we would like to start working on even predictions from for FX, for instance. So we are experiencing a lot of volatility. You can't quite come up with proper planning when you don't understand what is going to change at what point. Like, as I said, sometimes it feels like you are just trying to navigate in the dark with not clear roadmaps. And we need to have a lot more harmonization and better working between the private sector as well as the public sector. So that particular engagement and stakeholder engagements and participation from the, even coming up with the regulations perspective, that is important to involve the business community, the private sector in the planning and even in the coming up of the policies and regulations in place. Yeah, and of course having these conversations like what we were having last June in this June in Nairobi, this particular MNL Africa Leadership Circle convening, it was very good because as opposed to us sitting and imagining what it is that investors require, having them in the room and tell us these are some of the challenges that we're having, and then have someone not just leave the brilliance in that room, in the room, but put that down in a white paper like we have done with MNL Africa Leadership Circle, and go a step further and produce this particular white paper and present it before the regulators as well as the governments. So yeah, I feel like that stakeholder engagement is very important and ensuring predictability and engagement of stakeholders at every juncture. Yeah.
Let's also talk about policy consistency, which remains a major concern for investors. What are some of the practical steps that you'd say that governments can take to improve confidence without actually slowing reform efforts?
I would say we need to have proper communication from the moment. Of course, it all begins with the participation. Yeah, we have stakeholder engagement, we have public participation. Then it's important to have this very clearly documented and communicated. Then from even a contract sanctity perspective, it would go a very long way if we have transition periods involved in these particular contracts. If there are going to be any contracts given to investors, what happens in the event that we have a policy change midway? You know, do we have any grace period for transitioning from whatever we were working on as investors to what it now is, the new policy? So that is very important. Yeah, so very clear, adequate communication. I don't think you can ever over communicate. Give investors proper transition periods, moving forward, and also try and keep the conversation going. Yeah, because we sometimes see policies that you kind of are sure the right technocrats were not necessarily engaged in the room. Yeah, so it's very easy for me, because of course I have a bias or perspective based on maybe myself being a lawyer. I'm not a finance person per se, so it will be very remiss to have a finance policy in place without engaging the right finance people. And also, again, there is levels to finance. In what area of finance are you involved? So if you're coming up with any policies, we need the right technocrats in the room. We need to have the proper stakeholder engagement, public participation, and communication, have these things clearly written. And of course, think of transition periods while doing all of this. Yeah.
And beyond FDIs as a foreign direct investment, what's the role that African institutional investors and private capital plays in driving the continent's growth?
They could definitely act as anchors. You know, this goes a very long way to de-risk and also, of course, attract the investors, the foreign capital into the continent. While we see that our African institutions are already banking on the African economy, on the African projects, the African businesses, it's very easy and, of course, encouraging for other external capital to come into the country, because, first of all, they are already de-risked, you know. So there's that, and there's the whole investor trust that is also created. You know, it's very easy and encouraging to see that Africans are investing in Africa, as opposed to just sitting and waiting for foreigners to bet on us while we're not betting on ourselves. So when we see the pension funds already investing locally, we have the sovereign wealth being invested in the continent as well. And it's now becomes just a question of who are going to be the core investors on some of these projects. Yeah, so I would say it's important for us as Africans and our African institutions to invest more on African projects and what exactly is happening on the African continent. That builds trust and obviously helps, you know, lower the risk. It may not completely de-risk, but will certainly lower the risk for other foreign investors who are looking to come into Africa. And also understanding, yeah, it's very easy for an African investor to understand African businesses. You know, we were talking about culture earlier on.
And the nuances.
Yeah, and the nuances. So the moment we have someone on board who is a core investor and fully understands what we're talking about here, you know, that kind of gives a lot of trust, a lot of ease for even other foreigners to come on board. Yeah.
And speaking about this investment, let's also talk about West Africa. I mean, we've been seeing, and I'm seeing, I don't know about what you think, but I've been seeing a number of, you know, even Nigerian businesses and, you know, people from other parts. Now it's looking like Kenya is looking like the new, very, very, very good for business. Do you agree with that?
That Kenya
we're seeing more businesses now heading to Kenya.
Yeah.
Right. We've seen a number of them.
Yeah.
But let's look at West Africa. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for cross-border investment over the next few years?
That's a good question. I would say definitely energy, especially there's a lot of clean energy opportunity there. We can also definitely think and talk about infrastructure, which is already happening. And we've seen that even like, say, the Chinese BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, has literally just tripled its investment in Africa in this particular first half of 2026. So that is a big area of investment. I would say infrastructure, energy, there's green ammonia, for instance. There is also a lot of infrastructure from the digital space. So we still have a lot of investment, particularly in digital innovation, as well as finance, like cross-border, like just cross-border investments
Investment,
so there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of room there. Yeah, and
What do you
of
think
course
about
everyone is
health
talking
tech?
about health tech is obviously one of them. If we're talking about scale, maybe not as massive in terms of scale as would be with infrastructure.
Okay.
But is it still there? Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned that you're seeing a lot of potential and investment also flowing to Kenya. Yeah, typically in Africa, I think we talk of the main four economies, Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, and South Africa. But then let's also not sleep on the emerging ones. There's a lot of investment flowing into Cote d'Ivoire right now. There is a lot happening in Morocco as well. And I think one of the exciting ones is Benin. Very little talked about, but there's a lot happening on that particular front. Yeah.
Speaking about Benin, you're talking about it as one of the emerging markets. Is that the reason why you decided to take the conversation to Benin this time? What are some of the key investment conversations that you hope that it would advance?
Yeah, thank you. Definitely. I'm very curious and excited about Benin, and this is the reason why on the 6th of August, that should actually be this week on Thursday. Yeah, we will be in Benin and we'll host a roundtable there. We're looking forward to having a conversation and just understanding what is really happening there. We're getting a lot of amazing reports, very encouraging reports about Benin being an emerging market. They are early adopters of technology as well. I think they have done a very good job, even from a government level. They're also, one thing I'm actually very excited about is their agriculture, particular economy. It's very exciting. I like that there's something I think Mr. Dangote has actually always talked about. I know he's a big treasure of Africa and a child of a son of the land, Nigeria. So he's saying that as Africans, we need to stop exporting raw foods and material. And this is what the Benin agricultural industry is actually doing, the sector. They're trying to do a lot of food processing themselves there. Yeah, so I would like to learn more. I am not an expert in Benin investment in any manner, shape, or form, but I'm looking forward to take the conversation there. And of course, it will be a cheat sheet for us to learn more about Benin. It's also a strategic port, so there's a lot happening on the logistics perspective in Benin. I believe Benin connects many of its other countries who are actually landlocked, as well as Nigeria, which is its neighbor. So they have this port that they are taking advantage of. I'm also very curious about their special economic zone, GIZ, I think. Yeah, something like that, GDIZ actually, sorry. Yeah, so it's good to see the incentives. I'm very curious to learn about the incentives that they are offering investors who are coming in there. I was just reading a report that basically say that Benin is one of the smartest choices for European countries or invest. Yeah, apparently. So I'm looking forward to meeting with all of them and with some of their leaders there, and just to understand and expose myself to that market. Yeah.
Before I let you go, if there was one reform that you would say would significantly improve Africa's investment competitiveness, what would that be?
Harmonization of the regulatory environment and dispute resolution mechanisms. If we can get that right, I think it will give a lot of investor confidence, would help build investor confidence, basically. Yeah, it definitely goes a long way if you are sure that should there come a time in your business cycle where you're going to be dealing with disputes, that you have proper institutions that are, first of all, free, fair, and definitely predictable, and obviously impartial. So I think that goes a very long way, because of course there will be misunderstandings, some disputes arising from time to time. You want to know that you're safe, you want to know that your contracts are going to be fulfilled, and if not, you can actually enforce, that. Yeah, so I think that that, and obviously harmonizing our policies from one market to the next would be important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've spoken a lot about harmonization. I think we'll just have to leave it there and move forward from there. Thank you so much, Evelyn Umbula Onzuki, founder and managing partner of MN Legal, also the founder of the MN Africa Leadership Circle. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this has been Business Morning Live right here on Business Day Television. Up next is Social Listening. Do stay with us.
Nigeria, a land of boundless energy, driven by the pulse of over 200 million dreams. At the heart of this momentum stands a giant, Seplat Energy, an indigenous powerhouse accounting for a vital share of Nigeria's oil and gas output, propelled by the historic acquisition milestone with the acquisition of ExxonMobil's onshore and shallow water assets, significantly expanding its production capacity and marking its entry into offshore operations. We are the engine of prosperity, Nigeria's leading domestic gas supplier with a total gas production output of 2.7 billion cubic feet and the landmark Ano gas project delivering first gas. We have elevated our total processed gas output to 855 million standard cubic feet per day onshore. Indeed, we have brought domestic gas utilization to new heights, powering industries and securing energy for millions. But we are not just growing production, we're growing responsibly. By ending routine flares, we are decarbonizing our operations today to protect the Nigeria of tomorrow. Our reach is expanding. From offshore gas distribution to the growth of CNG for transport and industry, we are deepening our presence across the entire value chain. Our impact reaches the grassroots. Through innovative mini-grid projects, we are bringing clean, reliable energy to local communities, fueling economic empowerment where it's needed most. We are more than an energy company. We are a partner in progress, a leader in the energy transition, a giant rooted in Nigeria for Nigeria. Seplat Energy, leading Nigeria's energy transition, powering the future.
Looking for fast and reliable answers to your business and economic questions? Meet SIA, BusinessDay's Strategic Intelligence Assistant, Nigeria's first AI-powered news chatbot. Simply visit businessday.ng, click the SIA chat icon, and ask your question in plain language. Whether it's inflation, market trends, company insights, government policies, or personal finance, SIA delivers instant answers powered by BusinessDay's trusted journalism. Smarter insights, faster decisions. Visit businessday.ng today and discover the future of business intelligence with SIA.
At Providus Bank, we're committed to your growth and success. You're never alone on the journey. Our personalized relationship banking is how we do things together. It's what sets us apart. We value every individual and partnership and treat them as such. We're committed to helping you grow and celebrating your success. This is your life story, your future, your forward. This is all about you. Let's move you forward. Providus Bank. At Providus Bank, we're committed to your growth and success. You're never alone on the journey. Our personalized relationship banking is how we do things together. It's what sets us apart. We value every individual and partnership and treat them as such. We're committed to helping you grow and celebrating your success. This is your life story, your future, your forward. This is all about you. Let's move you forward. Providus Bank.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
For 25 years, Business Day has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, Business Day now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new Business Day website today and experience the future of news.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Balata.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Balata.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
If it's sparking conversations, then we're bringing it to your seat. Welcome to the social listening segment right here on Business Day Television. This is where we bring you the stories, debates, and moments generating conversations across social media. I am Elizabeth Musa. Now let's get into what is making waves online. I'll start with the very first conversation today. The Lagos State Police Command has commenced an investigation into a viral video showing the alleged assault of a gold seller by some policemen in the Festac area of Lagos. The command disclosed this in a statement posted on its official X handle, saying the officers captured in the video had been identified as personnel attached to the Area E command. The incident, which reportedly occurred on Friday, gained widespread attention on Saturday after the victim shared videos alleging that he was assaulted by the officers while delivering a gold necklace to a customer. Now let's see some of the reactions on social media and see how Nigerians are reacting to this conversation. I tell you, when we talk about Nigerian social media, it's Netflix. It's full on entertainment day in, day out. But I mean, just beyond entertainment though, this is quite I don't know what to make of this situation really. But let's see the reactions on social media. If you could just have it up on the screen and see some of the reactions and how more Nigerians are reacting to this conversation on the victim who has shared some videos which obviously allege that he was assaulted by the officers while delivering a gold necklace to a customer. Since when did you just going about doing your duties, you're delivering a gold necklace, and then the next thing you're seeing is that you're being you are being assaulted by policemen? Since when did that even start? Like, we just see all sort of things happening in Nigeria, and it's quite unfortunate really. Let's see if we have some of the reactions on social media. There's a reaction from Nnamani. Nnamani says, why is this harassment of a thing getting, is it Nnamani? He said Nigerian police needs to train their officers. Also, there's a need for mental assessment for all officers because most of these officers are not normal mentally. I agree with that commenter. That's a comment from Ja. I honestly agree with it. I don't even think it's just policemen. I think many Nigerians are mentally unstable. Even the people around you, your friends, your family members, many people are mentally unstable, and it's all because of there's a huge burden, there's a stress level that is really high that can be borderline mental. I mean, when you wake up early in the morning, you wake up in the midnight every day, you sleep close to midnight, you hardly even have food to eat, your brain is not functioning as you should. When you go around in the markets and public buses, all of these things, you understand how much and how borderline people are borderline crazy in Nigeria, and it's terrible. And you tend to see these things when you have friends come over from outside of the country, non-Nigerians, and they think, are you guys crazy? Look at the way bus conductors shout. That should tell you something. The way bus conductors shout, the way people handle stuff, people are crazy, people are impatient. It's almost a mental state. It's really sad though. There's a comment from Mr. Prolific. Mr. Prolific says, imagine harassing a bona fide citizen like this in your own country. He goes to say, we scream Black Lives Matter, but in Nigeria, citizens are treated like animals in the streets. Police brutality is everyday occurrence and nothing will happen. This is why it will remain a third world country forever. And there's a comment from Brown the Boss. Brown the Boss says, reason why this act continues is because those caught in the act see not losing their jobs. The DPOs in charge of these things are not being demoted. They will only post their pictures online and move behind desk or transfer them to another state. No scapegoat has been made. That's a comment from Mr. Prolific. Then there's a comment finally from Ogale. Ogale says, our police are most unprofessional and they're the worst in the world. He says they are as bad as bandits, intimidating poor innocent citizens on the road just to collect bribes from them. This is why our country is of a particular concern, because they don't go after criminals. That woman police, shame on you. Whether a woman police, man police, is just crazy to just see things like this happening. But let's move on to our conversation today, where a 100-level student of the Ambrose Ali University AAU, identified as Esther, has accused a staff member in the Department of Public Administration, Mr. Pascal Omofoma, popularly known as Don P, of sexually harassing her. According to Esther, she's calling on the Vice Chancellor of Ambrose Ali University and the university's management to urgently investigate her allegations through a fair, impartial and transparent process. She appealed to the institution to ensure that due process is followed and that the matter is thoroughly examined. She also expressed hope that justice will be served based on the outcome of the investigation. Now, again, we have video and we have some tweets on this conversation. It's really, 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 really sad. Namani, 4th General, says, why is this harassment of a thing getting high every single day in Nigeria? What exactly is going on that people can't maintain their self-discipline? Isi Meme says, I can't hear her saying no or stop. Ladies, please be vocal. Say no when you're uncomfortable. He can turn around now and say she's his babe and that they are just having a fight. Buzz Idris says, no matter what, the lady is to be blamed because she's comfortable with him. And before this could happen, something serious was happening before. She's playing with her education. She's mature enough to say no or not to enter his car, but she thinks she's smart to fool us. St. Colin says, it's an unfortunate event, but please, how did she end up in his personal car? For someone to behave like this, there must have been signs before a little flirting at least. There must have been signs before, a little flirting at least. So still entering this car, knowing it probably is. That's where my confusion lies. I think the only thing I would say is, as ladies, as gentlemen, as whatever, don't give. If you see signals that this person might be coming up to you or whatnot, don't give any signals or signs like you are engaging or you are entertaining it on no basis. Not out of being cautious, not out of being kind, not out of being unproblematic. Just avoid it. Avoid any sign of it. If you don't have to enter its car, don't enter its car. Don't do anything, because it's crazy when if this situation escalates and then the man says, oh, but how come she's here, how did we get here? And then please, men, I don't think as a man you're seeing your student that you're supposed to be teaching, or an undergraduate that you should be leading, you should be guiding. Why is that the next person? Why is that your next 100 level student? Why is that the person that you are thinking you have some interest in? It's just weird, because I don't even know how old she is, right? But it's wrong, because you are a superior. So why do you think that you should have some sort of interest in this person, especially when you know that they are very impressionable, you know that they will defer to you easily? I just have a lot of questions. So look up the ladder. Leave the young people that are still starting, because you know that they will defer to, they need your support, they need whatever it is. So please, as much as possible, on both parts, ladies, men, please let everyone be guided. I think that's just where I'm going to leave it. Everyone should be guided. We don't want sexual harassment situation. We want everyone to just let everyone just act with some sensibility, right? Some sensibility. It's crazy when the people that should be protecting you are the ones that are moving to you. It's not sensible at all, right? And my final case will also be, ladies, young, anyone out there, also, if you see any signs, just avoid the person altogether. My final conversation today will be all about Dr. Paul Eneche, the senior pastor of the Dunamis International Gospel Center, who has criticized Afrobeat, claiming that the genre lacks lyrical substance. Addressing this congregation during the church media concert, Dr. Eneche claimed that Afrobeat musicians sing rubbish, and also, he says that they influence youth negatively. He urged gospel artists to continue to sing more songs that appeal to youth to counter what he described as the negative effect of Afrobeat on young people. I'm going to start by saying that support gospel artists as well, because the gospel artists do need some sort of encouragement. But let's see some of the reactions on social media and see how Nigerians are reacting to this comment from Pastor Eneche on social media. Let's see what our Nigerians feel about it. There's a comment from Pascal Peter. He says he didn't talk about the pastors scamming their members or collecting their hard-earned money in the name of tithe. That's one thing to look at too. but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Christopher says Nigerians are currently fighting for survival, yet somehow the biggest national emergency is what Nigerians are singing. It's not an emergency. Then he says when people can barely afford food, rent, and transport, this sermon should probably be directed at the problems actually choking the people. I would have loved to see the video, but without the video, did he declare it as an emergency, or is this person just taking it too far? Was it just a comment he made? I think we should just give people some grace. If he made the comment and it's just as his own form of moral obligation, I don't see anything wrong there, right? I agree that we have pressing issues in the country, but if he just made it as a comment or an advice or whatnot, I think he's free to do that. Easy Man says, where is the lie? All songs now evolve around immorality and women, so no good songs that speak value unlike it was. I also have a problem with how people construct tweets. Honestly, it just gives me a lot of headache. Manik says, thank you very much. The Afrobeat genre is kind of lost at the moment. There's no good music. They're just chasing streams and numbers. Every project from every artist is recycling something. Recycled sounds, recycled lyrics, recycled video ideas. It's a mess. I don't agree with you, Manik. I do not agree with you, Manik. I think there are a lot of Nigerian musicians doing fantastic jobs every day, pushing the envelope. But how many of you are buying their music? Many people who you just listen to a song, use it as sound. How many people are buying? How many times do these people say they want to do a concert or do a show, and then how many Nigerians are buying? You see many of these Afrobeat musicians, most times they complain. They talk about how when they do their tours outside of Nigeria, they have more people who will buy the ticket. Nigerians will probably, and that also says something. I think I should just finish my train of thought. I think that perhaps we have some Nigerians that will want to, buy a ticket to attend a musician's show, but perhaps when you've not been able to put 3 square meals on your table, that could also be a problem. So you're thinking, how will I take my money and then go buy a ticket to watch this person perform, when you know that so many Nigerians that would attend that event will film it and share on their social media, which just feels like you were there, or you feel like, why don't I just play the music in my house? But I think we need to have a very, very, very important conversation around distribution of music and how Nigerians approach purchasing musicians. And there are a lot of these musicians, they are well loved, right? They're well loved by Nigerians, but I think it's just the monetary constraint. But back to what Pastor Paul Eneche said, is very right if he thinks that, the lyrics of songs and all of that stuff, if he's criticized it, it might be something for artists to go back to the drawing board and just, you can entertain us with a bit of meaning, right? Just something that will last for time, that you can look back and you're not looking and wondering, what are you even singing, right? So it might be something that they should look at, but I don't think he's saying it as a matter of it's a pressing Nigerian issue or a state of emergency or whatnot. It's just a word of advice or a word of just something that perhaps he finds concerning. And I think that he who has ears will hear, will listen, and but more importantly, I would say that Nigerians, we need to support our artists, whether gospel artists, whether secular artists, whatever. We need to support them. And how do we support them? By buying their music, by buying their tickets for their shows, by just supporting this. It's not just by paying lip service to saying that you like a Burna or Davido or whatnot. You have to support them by attending their shows. You have to buy tickets. I understand, and it's understandable that things are even tough for a Nigerian. So really and truly, there's just a lot of sides to just look at things. But back to the government will have to also help. government has to also help. Things are really tough for an average Nigerian. So when you're thinking of entertainment, an average Nigerian will look for the cheapest form of entertainment, and the cheapest form of entertainment is certainly not paying for music when there's entertainment everywhere. It's certainly not paying for a ticket when there's entertainment everywhere. So things just have to be easier for an average Nigerian, and this is for the government to take note of. Things have to be easier. Things are tough for an average Nigerian. Things are really tough for average Nigerian. So government, please look out for your citizens. Make things easier. Make things easier. And for Pastor Eneche, we hear you. I'm sure that the musicians are also listening. If they're listening, you can take a word of advice from the man of God and work on your lyrics. That's also something. And for people, the ones that have the wherewithal, the means, as much as possible, support the musicians, the ones that are churning out very meaningful songs and all of that. Support them, buy their music, attend their shows, attend their concerts. That's the way you can encourage these people to keep doing more and keep doing great work. But I'll leave it at this morning on the social listening segment right here on the Business Day morning live. It's been such a great show from the start of the show up until this very moment. Thank you for sticking with us. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Stay safe.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
This is the 14th annual edition of the Business Day CEO Forum, a forum for CEOs, leaders, policymakers, key stakeholders across Nigeria's economy. And today's theme is really from stability to shared prosperity. Today is such a beautiful day with all of the CEOs and the policymakers and the government officials we have right here in the hall. But today, I'm here right now with the CEO of KPMG One Africa, Mr. Tola Adeyemi. Thank you so much for coming to our booth and stopping by.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So let me start by speaking to the theme. I mean, you already delivered such a beautiful presentation upstate, but let's talk about the theme for this year's event, which is from stability to shared prosperity. I want to hear your perspective on, some of the indicators that says, oh, really that we're moving to shared prosperity, because, when you look at the macroeconomic conditions, some of the things around you, it's hard to actually agree. So I want to hear your perspective.
Well, first of all, let me say congratulations to this day for organizing this event.
Business Day.
And so Business Day for organizing this event, and also for the choice of topic, because I think it's very timely. We've gone through a suite of reforms in Nigeria, which were aimed at stabilizing the economy. But the other important aspect of that is making sure that the prosperity that comes from GDP growth, that permeates throughout the economy and everybody feels the impact. So we know intuitively that people complain about the rising cost of living and such other things. But we thought that it's important to bring to this conversation around shared prosperity. Let's bring some data into the conversation. Let's have a scorecard that can be used to measure shared prosperity. And so what we've done is to come up with such a scorecard, including various indices that relate to how inclusive the growth is. It relates to people's well-being and standard of well-being. So for instance, some of the indices we look at are the rate of GDP growth in itself. We look at indices such as GDP per capita, which is to understand the trend in that. We look at the number of children of school age that are out of school, because that's another indicator as well. We look at indicators such as access to electricity as another indicator. And then the number of people that are operating in what we refer to as multidimensional poverty. So we believe that tracking these indices over a period of time will certainly provide an indication as to how well the economy is doing in delivering shared prosperity. We also think it's important for government to articulate its targets in relation to those indices, and to make those targets public, as well as the periodic measurement of those indices, because I think accountability is pretty important in helping to deliver shared prosperity. So these are all the things that I spoke about.
Some of the indicators that you'd mentioned.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious to know, do you believe that we are entering into a new phase of economic prosperity or economic opportunity? Do you believe? If you believe, why? If you don't believe, why not?
Well, I think you must remember where we're coming from, and I say if you look in the rear view mirror, you'll see in our past as a country, we're coming from a situation where we were in pretty dire straits, is the way I would put it. Remember, we had multiple exchange rates. Right. We had an unsustainable fuel subsidy. We had our indices at all-time lows. There was the whole issue of the level of government borrowing that existed as well. With the reforms that have been put in place, we're seeing a number of key macroeconomic indices now stabilizing. So things like the exchange rate is now stable. Inflation is trending downwards. GDP is growing. So we've moved from what I would say was an almost disaster situation to a situation of stability. Now, what we need to achieve is making sure that while maintaining stability, we're delivering shared prosperity. So, in a way, you could think about this in phases and say we've gone from being where our indices were moving erratically and chaotically to where they're stable. And now the focus has got to be delivering on that prosperity. So I think where we are now is at this stage where the conversation has got to be more and more about how you deliver shared prosperity. So yes, I think there's been an evolution, but there's still a journey to go.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, as a CEO, are there some lessons that some lessons, perhaps top lessons that you've learned within the economic climate that we are right now?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think all businesses have learnt that you've got to be resilient to operate in an economy such as ours. Resilience demands agility, continuously rethinking your strategy and monitoring what's going on in the external environment and making sure you're responding to that very, very quickly. It also involves looking at key data and forecasting where things are likely to go. But I think some of the biggest lessons for me have been the fact that as businesses, as a CEO, we've got to be always thinking long term, because we're in Nigeria, and as I believe most businesses are in Nigeria for the long term. And when you're in for the long term, you've got to be investing for the long term. I think all businesses have a responsibility to invest in the development of talent, the development of skills that not just which that business needs, but which Nigeria as a whole needs to foster its development. That's how businesses take part as well alongside government in creating the future for our country. It's investing in skills, investing in their businesses to create wealth for the shareholders and employees. These all come together. And I think, these are all important lessons and important things that businesses need to do as we move forward.
And speaking of these things that businesses need to do, it brings me to my next question. What separates the companies that thrive from the ones that struggle during periods of change?
I would say it's foresight, one, that ability to look into the future. It's about execution and response time. The businesses that thrive are businesses that are agile and that have the capacity to respond quickly to changes in the environment. The businesses that thrive are the businesses that have the ability to execute on the plans that they develop. Because as you all know, it's one thing to develop a plan. It's quite another thing to ensure that you're executing on it and monitoring the execution of those. The other thing that differentiates businesses is the quality of people that are within those businesses. And how do you get quality people? It's by making sure that you're running a company that has the right set of values and in which you create the right environment in which employees want to work there and want to put in their best. So these are some of the things that distinguish the winners from those who do not win.
Yes, I like that you said about the losers. But now let's also talk about technology. Would you say that technology is creating a level playing field for businesses, or would you say it's created a wider gap?
I think it's definitely a differentiator amongst businesses. There are areas in which it has helped to bridge the gap between businesses, because it has allowed startup businesses, for instance, to leapfrog several stages of development and catch up with more established businesses. So to that extent, it has certainly helped to accelerate growth and bridge the gap. But I think as we look into the future, it's going to become more of a differentiator as well, and that the businesses that will thrive are those that really focus on using technology, and in particular artificial intelligence, in ways that are customer focused. Because I think when you deploy your technology and your artificial intelligence on things that matter to your customers, then you really start to widen the gap between yourselves and the others. So the way I see it is that all businesses right now are in this place to say, how do we compete based on the quality and efficiency of our technology? And as in all areas, I think we'll see some winners will emerge, those who understand it and who are able to deploy it in the most effective manner, and then others who will struggle in terms of how they deploy it. The message is that Nigeria is on an upward trajectory. Business confidence is improving. We've seen the credit ratings also trending in the right direction from the international credit agencies. We've seen a lot of reforms that are happening in the business environment. And, you know, one thing that I hear consistently from our clients is that the government is listening, is the way I would put it. There's confidence in that aspect, that the government wants to do the right things, and the government creates an opportunity for business to interact with government, and they listen and they act. So the message to everyone is that Nigeria is on the up, and there are huge opportunities within this economy, and we all just need to engage, and we'll move the country forward.
So if we were sitting here at the next CEO forum, that's 2027 CEO forum,
right,
and I'm sitting next to Mr. Tola Adeyemi, what would you hope has changed?
I would hope that we'll be able to say, Elizabeth, that, you know what, a year ago, look at where Nigeria was in terms of all the indices that we spoke about for shared prosperity, and look at where we are now. And I would hope that we would be seeing progress in all those indices. That would give a great deal of satisfaction, because we would then know that indeed we're delivering, you know, as a country on this shared prosperity objective that's so important. So I look forward to the 2027 edition, and I look forward to discussing the progress in the indices.
I mean, on a better level. But thank you very much for spending your time with us today at the Business Day CEO Forum, and also this insightful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a real pleasure.
We're still here at the Business Day CEO Forum, the 14th edition, and I'm still speaking to our leaders here in the hall, and I'm speaking now with the DG CEO of the Miriam Babangida National Center for Women Development, Dr. Adedayo Benjamin Lani. It's good to have you seated here with us today.
Great to be here.
Thank you so much for honoring our invite. So let's talk about the theme for this year's event, which is From Stability to Shared Prosperity. I'm very curious to know what shared prosperity, or moving from stability to shared prosperity, what it means for you.
It's the assignment in terms of the Women O'Clock reference of the Honorable Minister Iman Suleiman Ibrahim FSI, that it is now time for that socio-economic TikTok representation of women in the pipeline and intersection of repurposing gross domestic product from just being an economic index to be a community impact in this through the development that investing in women and a woman bring to community. We have 774 communities. That is 774 local government areas with our mothers, our Iyalakaras, the Kosei sellers, the entire informal economy, which during the KPMG presentation clearly indicated that 80.7% is women of that GDP. And that labor market, as well as the reference gender in this, is not about a women's agenda. It is about shared prosperity. For me, the excitement as the DG CEO for the Mariam Babangida National Center for Women's and National Development is about centering women at the center, women at the pivot of national development, not just as recipients of grants, beneficiaries of some palliatives, but as leaders redirecting the focus as well as the very strategically designed impact of prosperity from the place of stability, like we heard the Honorable Minister say, in terms of repurposing the workforce to those of employable reference and representation, the greater number being women, and the adolescent girl child scaling through their foremost graduating positions these days in Nigerian universities. A lot of the top performing graduates are girls. And we're finding that this, however, does bring us to a place where we have to redirect our investment in the boy child. So it's not just about the girl child. I'm just saying that because even as the CEO for women, I'm a CEO for raising a generation as a woman who's mothering nations through the pipeline of her political activation and appointeeship. So for me, it's a whole vista of opportunity. From stability to shared prosperity is actually economic language. But the truth of the matter, what it is the fact that that shared prosperity is 774 communities. I served as the pioneer mandate secretary for women, that's Honorable Commissioner for Women Affairs of the Federal Capital Territory for 2 years and 6 months. It was from that position that I was promoted and elevated to this position as DG. And what that gave me was access to a profiling of how communities are the pivot of economies. And through women, you have the pipeline for development. Again, I say, a women's agenda is not about gender. It is about development. It is about leadership. It is about policy governance, implementation, operationalization. It's not just about, stop gender-based violence, but much more than that. When you understand that period poverty is poverty, when you understand that water and sanitation health, poverty is poverty, and that the most implicated in this is always the woman, the girl child, the person with these vulnerable communities. Communities are vulnerable because women have not been empowered and given that equitable status of economic representation and training. I always say, if you don't train them, don't blame them. So it's much more than being a member of an adagio where at the traditional cultural baseline community, women gather money together and use it over an annual reference of their being in the cluster. It's more about financial training, literacy training, those monetary principles in basics that teach you how to make money, earn money, save money, invest money, and then have money built up as legacy, invested as legacy, not just for you and your family, your children, but for community. So that way, the shared prosperity is legacy. It's shared legacy. So from being, if you become the mother of Africa, Where did you start from? You were a baby girl. You were a girl child. You've come through different experiences. And I say, every woman in Africa understands she's got to package her market and market her package if she's really going to catch the market. So the reality, therefore, for me and the excitement of this conference as a CEO, just as we're challenged by the Honorable Minister of Finance, is we are co-authors, co-creators,
Absolutely.
co-laborers, co-lab techs
Lab
in the
technicians,
collaboration
absolutely.
of creating this whole new nation
Yeah.
of shared prosperity.
Right, and there's something you said which stuck out to me. Is you said we're not just talking about shared prosperity, but also shared legacy. If there is something you'd say, if you could remove a barrier hindering women right now to reach, this shared prosperity we're talking about, what's that barrier that you'll be?
It's mental. The greatest barrier of every woman is her mindset. It's the orientation towards money, but not just towards money, it's towards herself. And how do I know this so well? It's been my experience. It's my experiential barrier that I had to break through. I mean, I was raised in a family in the first place that our parents would tell us that in this family, we don't make money. We have good name. We don't have money. So I grew up with this as a child. And then one day something me said, no way, I don't just want a good name. I want to make money. Now, it may seem like an ordinary statement. That to me, other women have other things they've been told. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not connected enough. Oh, you've got to have so many followers before you can have that much business. There's so many. We listen to all the reasons why you cannot break through. When all you need is the mindset, one thought that one day tells you, you know what? I am good enough. Or I may not be good enough yet, but I'm good enough for now. So you begin where you're at. You learn to package your market. For me, the greatest barrier is not the fact that, oh, we have a patriarchy, we have glass ceilings, oh, we don't have the seats at the National Assembly. Girl, I got my seat where I am, and I set up a table. And let me put it like this. He said he sets a table before you in the presence of your enemies. He anoints your head with oil. I'm getting prophetic because honestly, really, women, whoever we are, by tribe, by religion, by faith, by political, partisan, whatever representation, if we can just get it, we will truly clock it. Women, the only barrier that we have is our mindset. Once we get it, we'll move as one. You get over the fact that women don't support women. Because you become the one woman you know who will support a woman you do not know. Did you hear me? Support a woman you do not know. Go find that woman in your community, in your school, in your office, who's at your gate. Like I say, I'm the Omalakara of the year Lakara who started the whole Akara conversation. Why? Because I gave a report of the assignment I was given by Her Excellency the First Lady. I did a whole event saying, Your Excellency, ma, you gave me the privilege of serving as the coordinator of the Renewed Hope Initiative in the Federal Capital Territory, while at the same time I served as the Pioneer Mandate Secretary Honorable Commissioner for 2 years and 6 months. While I did that, this money you gave me and investments for health, for traders, for farmers, for persons with disabilities, for elders, for communities. I took it to the people. Today, I am bringing back a report of 27,346 or whatever numbers of women who actually benefited from this, one of whom is this Mariam Akara girl who, and the next thing it became this blow up. But the reality is this, when you do what you do, and you can prove it, you can show it, then truly you have shared prosperity.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Adedayo Benjamin Lani. Thank you for stopping by.
And I'm so grateful. Congratulations to all of you too.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for encouraging me too.
Thank you.
I've walked the walk so you can all run.
Absolutely.
And now I'm telling all of you, I am running, so everybody fly.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. We're still here at the Business Day CEO Forum, the 14th edition, and I'm still speaking to our leaders here in the hall, and I'm speaking now with the DG CEO of the Miriam Babangida National Center for Women Development, Dr. Adedayo Benjamin Lani. It's good to have you seated here with us today.
Great to be here.
Thank you so much for honoring our invite. So let's talk about the theme for this year's event, which is from stability to shared prosperity. I'm very curious to know what shared prosperity, or moving from stability to shared prosperity, what it means for you.
It's the assignment in terms of the Women O'Clock reference of the Honorable Minister Imam Suleiman Ibrahim FSI, that it is now time for that socio-economic TikTok representation of women in the pipeline and intersection of repurposing gross domestic product from just being an economic index to be a community impact index through the development that investing in women and a woman bring to community. We have 774 communities. That is 774 local government areas with our mothers, our iyalakaras, the kose sellers, the entire informal economy, which during the KPMG presentation clearly indicated that 80.7% is women of that GDP. And that labor market, as well as the reference gender index, is not about a women's agenda. It is about shared prosperity. For me, the excitement as the DG CEO for the Miriam Babangida National Center for Women's and National Development is about centering women at the center, women at the pivot of national development, not just as recipients of grants, beneficiaries of some palliatives, but as leaders redirecting the focus as well as the very strategically designed impact of prosperity from the place of stability, like we heard the Honorable Minister say, in terms of repurposing the workforce to those of employable reference and representation, the greater number being women, and the adolescent girl child scaling through their foremost graduating positions. These days in Nigerian universities, a lot of the top performing graduates are girls. And we're finding that this, however, does bring us to a place where we have to redirect our investment in the boy child. So it's not just about the girl child. I'm just saying that because even as the CEO for women, I'm a CEO for raising a generation as a woman who's mothering nations through the pipeline of her political activation and appointeeship. So for me, it's a whole vista of opportunity. From stability to shared prosperity is actually economic language. But the truth of the matter, what it is the fact that shared prosperity is 774 communities. I served as the pioneer mandate secretary for women, that's Honorable Commissioner for Women Affairs of the Federal Capital Territory, for 2 years and 6 months. It was from that position that I was promoted and elevated to this position as a DG. And what that gave me was access to a profiling of how communities are the pivot of economies. And through women, you have the pipeline for development. Again, I say, a women's agenda is not about gender. It is about development. It is about leadership. It is about policy governance, implementation, operationalization. It's not just about, stop gender-based violence, but much more than that. When you understand that period poverty is poverty, when you understand that water and sanitation health, poverty is poverty, and that the most implicated in this is always the woman, the girl child, the person with these vulnerable communities. Communities are vulnerable because women have not been empowered and given that equitable status of economic representation and training. I always say, if you don't train them, don't blame them. So it's much more than being a member of an adagio where at the traditional cultural baseline community, women gather money together and use it over an annual reference of their being in the cluster. It's more about financial training, literacy training, those monetary principles in basics that teach you how to make money, earn money, save money, invest money, and then have money built up as legacy, invested as legacy, not just for you and your family, your children, but for community. So that way, the shared prosperity is legacy. It's shared legacy. So from being, if you become the mother of Africa, where did you start from? You were a baby girl. You were a girl child. You've come through different experiences. And I say, every woman in Africa understands she's got to package her market and market her package if she's really going to catch the market. So the reality, therefore, for me, and the excitement of this conference is, as a CEO, just as we're challenged by the Honorable Minister of Finance, is we are co-authors, co-creators, co-laborers, co-lab techs in the collaboration of creating this whole new nation of shared prosperity.
Right. And there's something you said which stuck out to me. Is you said we're not just talking about shared prosperity, but also shared legacy. If there is something you'd say, if you could remove a barrier hindering women right now to reach, this shared prosperity we're talking about, what's that barrier that you'll be?
It's mental. The greatest barrier of every woman is her mindset. It's the orientation towards money, but not just towards money, it's towards herself. And how do I know this so well? It's been my experience. It's my experiential barrier that I had to break through. I mean, I was raised in a family in the first place that our parents would tell us that in this family, we don't make money. We have good name. We don't have money. So I grew up with this as a child. And then one day something me said, no way, I don't just want a good name. I want to make money. Now, it may seem like an ordinary statement. That, to me, other women have other things they've been told. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not connected enough. Oh, you've got to have so many followers before you can have that much business. There's so many. We listen to all the reasons why you cannot break through. When all you need is the mindset, one thought that one day tells you, you know what? I am good enough. Or I may not be good enough yet, but I'm good enough for now. So you begin where you're at. You learn to package your market. For me, the greatest barrier is not the fact that, oh, we have a patriarchy, we have glass ceilings, oh, we don't have the seats at the National Assembly. Girl, I got my seat where I am, and I set up a table. And let me put it like this. He said he sets the table before you in the presence of your enemies. He anoints your head with oil. I'm getting prophetic because honestly, really, women, whoever we are, by tribe, by religion, by faith, by political, partisan, whatever representation, if we can just get it, we will truly clock it. Women, the only barrier that we have is our mindset. Once we get it, we'll move as one. You get over the fact that women don't support women. Because you become the one woman you know who will support a woman you do not know. Did you hear me? Support a woman you do not know. Go find that woman in your community, in your school, in your office, who's at your gate. Like I say, I'm the Omalakara of the year Lakara who started the whole Akara conversation. Why? Because I gave a report of the assignment I was given by Her Excellency the First Lady. I did a whole event saying, Your Excellency, ma, you gave me the privilege of serving as the coordinator of the Renewed Hope Initiative in the Federal Capital Territory, while at the same time I served as the Pioneer Mandate Secretary Honorable Commissioner for 2 years and 6 months. While I did that, this money you gave me and investments for health, for traders, for farmers, for persons with disabilities, for elders, for communities. I took it to the people. Today, I am bringing back a report of 27,346 or whatever numbers of women who actually benefited from this, one of whom is this Mariam Akara girl who, and the next thing it became this blow up. But the reality is this: when you do what you do and you can prove it, you can show it, then truly you have shared prosperity.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Adedayo Benjamin Lani. Thank you for stopping by.
And I'm so grateful. Congratulations to all of you too.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for encouraging me too.
Thank you.
I've walked the walk so you can all run.
Absolutely.
And now I'm telling all of you, I am running so everybody fly.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.